Hi everyone, welcome to the webinar and workshop series conducted by TCS in lieu of the upcoming SCS exams happening in August 2026. My name is Nick and I'm the lead tutor and evaluator for SCS at TCS. So let's look at the session outcomes. Today's session is going to be a bit long because I have to cover a lot. So first things first, I'm going to talk about what you need to do to overcome your failures. And if you are a retaker, if you're joining this session as a retaker, then you need to know the type of pitfalls you need to avoid when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 6 weeks. So with that in mind, I will be sharing insights about common reasons which leads to failure, and focused on each issue, I will be highlighting what you need to do to avoid these issues when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 6 weeks. And as you know, there are 6 weeks in total at your disposal until your exam. So I'm going to highlight what you need to do in the upcoming 6 weeks when conducting preparations, because you need to make sure to cover the entire syllabus when conducting your preparations, and at the same time you need to take steps to improve your skill set. So I'm going to talk about all these things in a little while at today's webinar. And most importantly, I'm going to teach you crucial answering and time management techniques, because if you are clueless of how to develop answers, then definitely you are going to run out of time. So after teaching you these two techniques, then I'm going to highlight how to implement these two techniques in a practical manner by taking you through one of the subtasks taken from mock exam 1, in which I'm going to talk about how we should apply the answering and time management techniques, which you are going to learn in a little while. And let me quickly tell you about the upcoming webinars and workshops we have scheduled for you before we get into the technicalities. So the stress management technique, which is going to be the 4th webinar, is happening next Saturday at 9 GMT or 10 AM UK, in which I'm going to teach you crucial stress management techniques, because in this exam, the examiner is not just testing your theory knowledge and application capabilities. The examiner is also testing whether you can manage a stressful situation. That's why um, um, you are supposed to, when attempting the exam, you will be exposed to a time pressured environment. So it's crucial to understand how to manage your stress levels. That's why I'm going to teach you these things in next week's webinar. And also at the same webinar, I'm going to take you through the exam blueprint, especially focusing your attention towards what the examiner has to tell us about how we should conduct your preparations, and also what you need to do on the day of the exam. And once we are done with the webinar series, we are kickstarting our workshop and masterclass series. And in each workshop, I'm going to direct your attention towards the relevant pillar, F3, P3, and E3. And then, similar to what you'd encounter in today's webinar, I'm going to conduct a masterclass focused on a question concerning your F3, P3, and E3 syllabi. And in the final workshop, which happens just 2 or 3 days before your examination, I'm going to share last minute tips with you, with the prime intention of motivating you before you walk into the exam. Because as per the CIMA examiner, if you are confident before the exam, you are going to be confident on the day of your exam. If so, you'd end up getting good marks. So make use of these free webinars and workshops we are conducting on a weekly basis. Attend them to gain insights into what this examination is and the type of technicalities you need to master before walking into your exam. And at the same time, this is the best way to keep tabs about your performance on a weekly basis, because via each of these classes during the Q&A, you can raise your questions or concerns, and I'm always ready to address all your questions. So having said that, let's try to figure out what leads to a failure. So as I mentioned at the very beginning of today's webinar, I'm pretty sure that there are some of you who are joining this session who unfortunately ended up failing the previous examination. So before you start preparations focused on August 2026, it's essential that you understand what your shortcomings are, because if you do not take steps to avoid these shortcomings when conducting your preparations in the upcoming 6 weeks, then you'd end up getting a similar score at your upcoming exam. So looking at the biggest problem which leads to a failure, this is tied to the fact that students walk into the exam after attempting just 2 or 3 mock exams. Especially if you are coming through an exemption route, you might have solely relied on the resources which appears within your FLP platform or the exemption platform. So via which you might have gotten access to just 2 or 3 mock exams. The problem is you cannot cover the entire syllabus when you have access to just 2 or 3 mock exams. So if you look at your syllabus E3, F3, and P3, the syllabus can be divided into 60 main elements. So before walking into the exam, you need to gain a sound understanding of what these 60 syllabus elements are. And at the same time, you should understand how to approach each of these 60 conceptual elements. You should gain a sound understanding of the exact answer points you need to include when each of these 60 elements can be tested at the exam. So, if you look at past exam variants, you would realize that the examiner has a tendency to develop 6 papers in total. Why 6 papers or why 6 variants with the intention of covering the entire pre-scene? So when conducting your preparations, you need to replicate a similar methodology in which you need to take steps to attempt mocks which are intended to cover the entire syllabus. So, when you rely on your exemption resources, the problem is only 25 to 30 heavily tested syllabus areas are covered within these exemption resources. So you have some videos which you can watch, and on top of that, you have access to some reading material along with 2 or 3 mock exams. So all these resources cover just 25 to 30 subtasks in total, or 25 to 30 questions, or 25 to 30 syllabus areas in total. But at your exam, any syllabus area from the 60 elements can be tested. So if you are a repeater, you might have understood that you struggled with certain subtasks. You did not understand clearly what the subtask was about. This happens when you are seeing a question for the first time in your life during your exam. So in order to avoid such a situation, to make sure that you are not going to struggle with any subtasks at your upcoming exam, you need to make up your mind to attempt mock exams which are intended to cover the entire syllabus. As you know, some add-ons were brought into your syllabus in March 2026 because the syllabus changed. Sustainability related add-ons were brought in. So that is why we have developed 7 mock exams, and that's why we are sharing 7 mock exams in total with you, with the prime intention of ensuring that before walking into the exam, you are in a position to gain a clear understanding of what these 60 syllabus areas are, how each of these 60 syllabus areas can be tested, so that you are ready to face any type of challenge which is thrown at you at your real examination. So in a nutshell, if you practice just 2 or 3 mock exams last time, then you definitely walked into the exam ill prepared. So you need to take steps to prepare yourself fully by getting accustomed to what the 60 concepts are and how to approach each of these 60 concepts. That's why we are sharing 7 mock exams with you. So when conducting your preparations, you have to base everything on the 7 mock exams. And also another problem is the fact that students do not practice mock exams under simulated exam conditions. So what we recommend at TCS is to attempt at least 3 to 4 mock exams under real exam conditions, with the prime intention of practicing your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. So as you know, in today's webinar, I'm going to teach you answering and time management techniques. And in next week's webinar, I'm going to teach you stress management techniques. Just because you know these 3 techniques, you are not going to be in a position to implement them successfully on the day of your exam. So instead, you need to keep practicing these 3 techniques over and over whenever you are attempting mock exams. If not, on the day of your exam, definitely you are going to struggle with your answering technique, because you struggle to structure your answers appropriately. And when this is the case, you will definitely run out of time. I asked you guys to, especially those who ended up failing last time, I asked you to book a call with me, and I got on calls on Thursday as well as Friday. And almost all the students said that they ran out of time during the exam. And most students, what they encounter is a situation where, let's assume in a section there are 2 subtasks, subtask A and B. Students spend a considerable amount of time on subtask A. Because of that, they are not in a position to develop an answer concerning subtask B. So when this is the case, you are never going to pass this exam. And as I mentioned earlier at the very beginning of this session, the examiner creates a time pressured environment with a purpose, because the examiner intends to test whether you are capable of managing a stressful situation. Because as a senior finance manager, you are supposed to play the role of a senior finance manager as per your case study. So as a senior finance manager, if you are not in a position to manage a stressful situation, then you are not ready to do your job. You do not deserve to play the role of a senior finance manager. And similarly, this is the final CIMA examination. So after passing this, you will become a management accountant, and this will ensure that you climb the corporate ladder, or one fine day you might start your own business. So, before you, become a management accountant, the examiner wants to identify the fact that whether you can manage a stressful situation. If not, you are not going to perform really well on your job. And at the same time, if you cannot manage your stresses, then definitely you are not in a position to run your own business. So that's why the examiner is purposely creating a time pressured environment to see whether you thrive under pressure. If so, you deserve to become a management accountant in the future. So that's why you need to master these three techniques: answering, time management, and stress management. So that's exactly why we ask our students to at least attempt 3 to 4 mock exams under exam conditions, so that you will get accustomed to the exam platform, and at the same time you will get accustomed to answering, time management, and stress management techniques. So if you do not want to run out of time in August when you're sitting for the August SCS exams, then you need to practice what we are going to learn today, as well as at next week's webinar. And also, students are clueless. 90% of the students are clueless of an appropriate answering technique. Because of that, they end up running out of time. They are not in a position to manage their time appropriately. So what happens is, right after reading through the unseen or the scenarios information, 90% of the students out there, they jump the gun and they end up typing their final answer from the word go. So they will dedicate something like 5 minutes to read, and after they are done reading, they will start typing their final answer in paragraph form without spending some time to plan or structure the answer. So, as you know, the examiner is trying to replicate a real life corporate environment. So in a real life corporate environment, when you receive a complex email which carry a lot of information, and if the requirement is to come up with a recommendation or to evaluate something, then before you start typing your response, you need to spend some time to structure your response, to ensure that you have covered everything which appeared within the email, and to ensure that you have come up with, you are well poised to come up with a response which is aligned with the requirement, and at the same time to ensure that you are coming up with a foolproof evaluation or a recommendation. So in order to achieve these things in a real life corporate environment at office, you will spend some time to plan your answer or structure your response. So you need to adhere to a similar methodology in this exam if you want to score good marks. You need to develop answers which are totally aligned with each requirement. You need to ensure that your answers are aligned with the unseen information, pre-scenes information, and at the same time, whenever you are developing your answers, you need to ensure that you bring in E3, F3, or P3 related knowledge with the intention of coming up with the best type of recommendations or conducting foolproof evaluations. So that's why you need to, first things first, learn an answering and time management technique. And after learning these two techniques, you need to practice them each time you attempt a mock under exam conditions. So previously, a while back, I mentioned how important it is to at least attempt 3 to 4 mock exams under exam conditions, so that you get your bearings with the answering and time management techniques. And also, another problem which leads to a failure is a situation where students lack appropriate theory knowledge, especially when dealing with students who are coming through exemption routes. I've encountered that these individuals have significant knowledge gaps. I covered this point at the very beginning of this session as well. So there's a tendency when dealing with exemption students, I've found out that there's a tendency for these individuals to totally rely on exemption resources, which contain just 2 or 3 mock exams, which contain just 25 to 30 heavily tested syllabus areas. So when you rely on such resources, then definitely you are walking into the exam with knowledge gaps. So if you look at your entire syllabus, it's vast. So you simply cannot rely on just 25 to 30 syllabus elements, or learn just 25 to 30 syllabus elements when 60 syllabus areas are tested at your examination. So I'm not going to take a lot of your time to explain each and every conceptual element. Instead, I'm going to direct your attention towards the main headings based on which your E3, F3, and P3 syllabi are structured. So concerning your E3 syllabus, your knowledge concerning strategy, evaluation, and formulation will be tested. And in today's masterclass, I'm going to direct your attention towards a question tied to this element. And on top of that, your knowledge concerning corporate governance and ethics will be tested, because you are directly reporting to the CFO. So you are involved with long-term decision making. So you have to ensure that as an individual who is working in a quoted company, we have to ensure that the company adheres to corporate governance best practices and ethical business practices. So that's why your knowledge concerning corporate governance and ethics will be tested. And also your knowledge concerning board responsibilities will be tested as a direct report to the CFO and any other board member. You have to have a clear understanding of what each board member is supposed to carry out, how to replace these board members as and when necessary, how to appoint a new board member as and when necessary. All these things will be tested. And in terms of your F3 syllabus, your knowledge concerning finance strategy, which contains hordes of technical elements, will be tested at this exam. So all these technical elements are highlighted in here. If you compare these technical elements with the resources which you already have access to, you will clearly see that there are elements which are contained within this document which you are seeing for the first time in your life. So that's why I said that you cannot rely on just 2 or 3 mock exams and expect to pass this exam. Instead, you need to gain access to the full set of mock exams to cover the entire syllabus. And also your knowledge concerning risk identification and mitigation, which is highlighted within your P3 syllabus, will be tested at the exam. You need to have a sound understanding of the existing risks which appear within Kwirtmak's risk report. And at the same time, you have to have an understanding of the type of risks the company should have identified, but actually has not mentioned or included within the risk report. And you have to have a clear understanding of the current risks identified by the company and whether the mitigatory strategies adopted by the company are foolproof or not. If there are shortcomings, you should be prepared to suggest recommendations to enhance current mitigatory strategies adopted by the company. And similarly, your knowledge concerning internal audit responsibilities and internal controls will also be tested at this exam. So as I mentioned earlier, this syllabus is vast. If you look at the main conceptual elements, it can be divided into 60 in total. So if you're walking to the exam with knowledge gaps, definitely you are going to struggle with certain subtasks. If that is the case, you'd have to repeat this examination. So rather than testing your luck during the exam, it is essential that you take steps to cover the entire syllabus, prepare to face any of the 60 conceptual elements, and at the same time, you need to significantly improve your application skills. Just learning theory won't help. You need to gain access to resources which are intended to teach you theory and application. So again, talking about exemption resources, these resources are intended to teach you just theory, but there aren't any resources out there which are intended to teach you application. So that's why at TCS, really focusing on those who are repeating this exam and those who are coming through exemption routes, we have developed master classes which are 100% aligned with each of the mocks we have developed. In a little while, you will encounter you will experience what a masterclass looks like, because I'm going to conduct a masterclass in today's webinar. Then you will realize how easy it is to learn theory and application together. Because in this exam, not just your theory knowledge is tested, your application capabilities, your ability to utilize E3, F3, and P3 knowledge when coming up with recommendations, when conducting your evaluations, when being involved with decision making, will be tested at your exam. So that's why you need to learn theory as well as application. So all concepts are covered within the mock exams, and we have developed master classes which are aligned with our mocks, which will ensure that you will learn theory and application together, covering the entire syllabus. And some students end up failing because they focus on theory too much. So this happens when right after attempting a mock exam, for instance, when trying to conduct revision, there's a tendency for students to go through theoretical concepts or go through their study texts or old notes. This is a good thing to do. It's always good to brush up your theory knowledge, but always remember that in this exam, your theory knowledge is not the only element which is tested. Application capabilities are heavily tested at this exam. You need to understand the fact that CIMA is a professional qualification. This is not an academic qualification. In an academic qualification, your theory knowledge or conceptual knowledge is tested. But in professional qualifications, both your theory knowledge as well as it is tested whether you can apply the knowledge which you have gained by learning these theories when it comes to decision making. So that's why both theory and application skills are tested at this exam. So if you focus on theory too much, then you will end up developing highly theoretical answers. And if you do so, you are not going to get marks for application. And as you know, SCS is a application heavy examination. 70% of your marks are dedicated towards application. Okay, so it's good to focus on theory. You need to learn the entire syllabus, but you should not focus on theory too much. If you do so, you will end up developing highly theoretical answers. Then you won't score the majority of marks which are dedicated for application. And also, when conducting revision, some students have a tendency to, let's assume you attempted a mock exam. After attempting the mock exam, students have a tendency to read through the questions and suggested answers. Again, it's good to read through the questions and suggested answers, but when you read through something, when you're reading something, you will gain an understanding or about the logic behind the suggested answer, but you are not going to be in a position to clearly understand the exact points which are included in the suggested answer. So if you look at a typical suggested answer, it will look something like this. There will be hordes of information in paragraphs. So when you read through this document, definitely you will understand what is contained within the suggested answer, but you will not gain a clear understanding of the structure of the answer and the exact points or the main points which are included within this suggested answer. So in order to gain a deep insight of the logic behind each answer, how each answer is structured, it helps when you have access to answer plans, which are the summarized versions of each suggested answer. So when you have access to a summarized version, which is in bullet points, you are in a position to clearly identify the most important points which you should include in your answers concerning each of the 60 syllabus areas. If so, you are going to get extremely good marks at your exam, because when you clearly understand the logic, and when conducting revision, when you take steps to replicate the same logic by developing answer plans on your own with the intention of coming up with answer plans which are akin to TCSs, then you are in a position to gain extremely good marks during your exam, because in this exam, the examiner tests whether you have taken steps to improve your skill set, which is tied to improving your answering technique, improving your time management, as well as stress management. So if you're to score marks, you need to improve your skill set, which is to improve the quality of your answers. So in order to improve the quality of your answers, when conducting revision, you should try and redevelop these answer plans on your own rather than trying to read through suggested answers, because when you do so, yes, as I mentioned earlier, you will gain an understanding of what the answer looks like, the content of this answer, but you are not going to gain a clear understanding of the structure of the entire answer and the most important points which you need to cover when each of the 60 conceptual elements are tested. Okay, so that's why after attempting each mock exam, you really need to focus on revision because just because you read something, you are not going to remember it on the day of the exam. When you read something, you will remember the content for about 2 or 3 days, but beyond that point, you won't remember the exact information which appeared um, within each suggested answer, unless and otherwise you have photographic memory. Okay, and if you look at the entire population, that's just 0.5% of the entire world who has such a memory. So since almost all individuals do not have a photographic memory, it is better to take steps to refine your answering technique by conducting appropriate revision, by developing answer plans. So another reason which leads to a failure is lack of revision. So I covered most of the elements concerning this problem earlier. So you need to definitely revise. Just because you attempt 7 mock exams, you are not in a position to improve your skill set, improve your answering technique, because at this exam, your job should be to improve your skill set, improve the quality of your answers, improve your analytical capabilities, improve the way in which you or improve the quality of your recommendations. So with the intention of achieving this, you need to keep redeveloping answer plans over and over until you are satisfied about the fact that you are in a position to replicate TCS's answer plans on your own. If that is the case, on the day of the exam, you will remember the exact points which you need to include when any of these 60 conceptual elements are tested. And another problem is the fact that students who end up failing rely on past exam variants. Students think that they can simply refer to past exam variants or past papers and identify how each of the 60 concepts can be tested, or identify how to develop foolproof answers. If you are planning to rely on past exam variants or past papers in August, then you are actually taking a huge risk, because first things first, if you are in a position to gain a clear understanding about the logic behind each answer concerning what appears within a past exam variant, then you need to have a sound understanding of a previous pre-seen document. So when you have just 6 weeks at your disposal, when you're supposed to conduct preparations based on your current pre-seen, you do not have time to read through a previous pre-seen and gain an in-depth insight about what a previous pre-seen is about. Because if you do not have a clear understanding of a previous pre-seen, you are not in a position to understand clearly the logic behind each answer which appears within a past exam variant. And on top of that, SCS is an application-heavy examination, as I mentioned earlier. So as and when necessary, you need to bring in pre-seen information. So there's a way in which you need to do this. And when bringing in pre-seen information, you need to, in order to understand how to bring in pre-seen information with the intention of adding value to your answers, you need to conduct preparations based on pre-seen specific mock exams, not past exam variants which are based on a totally different pre-seen. So when conducting today's masterclass, you will identify how important it is to bring in pre-seen information as and when necessary. So when building logical answers, you need to relate to the unseen and the pre-seen. And when you rely on past exam variants, then you are not in a position to clearly understand how a similar syllabus area can be tested, considering the internals and externals as well as financials of your chosen company, which is Kwirtmak. And another problem is the fact that students do not adhere to a study plan. Almost all students wait until the last 2 weeks to start preparations. So when you wait until the last 2 weeks, yes, you will have time to attempt mock exams, but you won't have time to refine your understanding, refine your answering technique, because you won't have time to spend on revision. As I mentioned earlier, it is crucial to improve your skill set. If you want to improve your skill set, then you have to really focus on revision. So when you start just 2 weeks before the exam, you are trying to rush the process. You can never rush this process, because when the examiner intends you to conduct your preparations across 6 weeks, when you are trying to outsmart the examiner and try to do everything within just 2 weeks, you are definitely going to rush the process. When you rush the process, you are not in a position to spend enough time on revision. It is crucial to revise. In a little while, I'm going to explain a 6-week study plan And then you'd realize how important it is to revise, because without revision, you are not in a position to improve your skill set. If you do not improve your skill set, you are going to struggle during your exam. You are not going to score more than 70 marks if you do not take steps to significantly improve your theory knowledge and application capabilities. So that's why it is essential that you adhere to a study plan. If you are a repeater, you know what I'm talking about, because probably in your previous sitting, you just spent the last 2 or 3 weeks towards preparations, and you attempted just 2 or 3 mock exams and read through the questions and answers, and thought that you are going to pass the exam. But during the exam, you might have struggled with time management. You might have seen a question which you are not really familiar with, a question which you are seeing for the first time in your life. And all these things leads to stress. Extreme levels of stress leads to panic leads to brain freeze. You might have experienced all these things in May or on a previous occasion when attempting your SCS exam, given the fact that you tried to do everything within the final 2 or 3 weeks. So don't wait until the final 2 or 3 weeks to start your preparations. You have to start right now if you are to conduct prep in a foolproof manner, because when you pace out your preparations, then you can dedicate enough time to revise, which is the most important element to pass SCS. And when you encounter any of these problems, it leads to a lack of confidence, because hordes of students, almost all students, walk into the exam doubting themselves. If you doubt yourself as a senior finance manager, you are not in a position to do your job properly. So similarly, if you doubt yourself before the exam, definitely during the exam, you are going to doubt the quality of your answers. This happens when you are ill prepared, because when you are seeing a question for the first time, you will try to come up with a logical answer on your own, but you will know for a fact that you are clueless about the answer. So you are trying to give your best shot. So your job is not to try and give your best shot at your exam. Instead, your job is to conduct preparations in a foolproof manner, so that you know the exact answer points you should include concerning each requirement which is thrown at you. So in order to build confidence, stick to the study plan, stick to the 3-step study process, which I'm going to explain in a little while. If you do so, it's as if you are going through each mock exam thrice before walking into the exam. And by the time when you stick to the study plan and when you adhere to this 3-step approach, by the time you are done with the first 3 mock exams, in the first 3 mock exams, you are definitely going to struggle. But from mock number 4 onwards, you will feel that you are managing your time properly. You are coming up with well-structured answers. The quality of your answers are improving. And also, you will identify the fact that your theory knowledge and application skills have improved considerably. And by the time you're done with all 7 mock exams, you can rest assured that you are going to be extremely comfortable during your exam, because those who passed in May walked into the exam by adhering to our study plan and taking or adopting the 3-step approach when it comes to mastering each mock exam. And this leads to extreme levels of confidence. And when you're confident before the exam, as per the CIMA examiner, you are going to be confident on the or during your exam, on the day of the exam or during your exam, because when you believe in yourself, you will come up with foolproof answers. You are never going to doubt yourself, doubt the quality of your answers. Okay, so these are the shortcomings which leads to a failure. I hope you understood what your shortcomings are. I hope I covered everything, all types of experiences you encountered in your previous sitting, so that you can take steps to avoid each of these issues when conducting your preparations focused on the upcoming 6 weeks. All right, so when it comes to handling your preparations focused on the upcoming exam, you need to conduct a personal reflection to really identify whether you gave your best shot last time. So you have to be honest with yourself. So I've already highlighted the issues. So take a piece of paper. After this webinar, you can watch the recorded version. So take a piece of paper, and it is better to jot down the type of issues you encountered in your previous attempt. And by doing this, you will clearly understand what your shortcomings were, and then you will know what to do to overcome each of these shortcomings, because concerning each of these issues, I highlighted what you need to do to avoid them. And you need to ask when conducting this personal reflection, you should also ask yourself whether you were exam ready, whether you attempted the required number of mock exams. If you are to cover the entire syllabus, as I mentioned continuously throughout this webinar, you need to attempt 7 mock exams in total to cover all 60 odd conceptual elements. And you need to ask yourself whether you conduct revision based on mock exams. As I mentioned earlier, just going through your past study text, your study text or your old notes won't help. You need to improve your answering technique and application capabilities. So that's why you need to conduct revision based on the mock exams. And also, you need to ask yourself the question as to whether you learned theory as well as application capabilities, application skills, and also whether you took steps to practice application. That is why I said that it's essential to redevelop answer plans when conducting revision, because the prime objective is to improve your answering technique and improve your application capabilities. And if you kept repeat, if you keep repeating this exam, if you're doing this for the 3rd or 4th time, you need to ask yourself the question as to whether you really know what your shortcomings are. Because as per my experience, students who are repeating continuously end up scoring the same type of marks. You might have scored, 50 odd marks in your previous sittings. Some might have scored 60 odd, some might have scored 70 odd marks. And sometimes students get the same mark over and over. This happens when you keep repeating the same mistakes. So if you do not opt for proper tutor feedback, you won't know what your shortcomings are. So when you do not know about your shortcomings, you keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. And on the day of the exam, you will, exercise or practice the same mistakes. So it's essential, if you are repeating continuously, if you're trying to do this exam for the 3rd or 4th time, definitely it's essential that you opt for proper tutor feedback, because then you are in a position to understand your exact issues. And once you understand your issues, then when conducting revision, you can take steps to overcome your or avoid your issues. All right. So let me quickly show you the type of feedback we offer at TCS. So as you can see, we provide feedback concerning each and every point, each and every paragraph, with the prime intention of highlighting your shortcomings. Because as I mentioned earlier, the objective of opting for tutor feedback should be to really understand your shortcomings, because if you do not understand your shortcomings, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. So you can see the type of feedback on offer, in-depth feedback, and at the same time, we do indicate mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. Not just mark allocations, we do indicate about a success rate on a subtask by subtask basis, which highlights the subtasks in which your performance was substandard. So after receiving this type of feedback, you will understand the subtasks in which your performance was below par. And then when conducting revision, your job is to redevelop answer plans focused on the subtasks which are highlighted in yellow. Okay, so when you receive this type of feedback, which we provide on a paragraph by paragraph or point by point basis, then you will understand your shortcomings. If not, you'd keep repeating the same mistakes over and over. So the action plan is to work smarter than the previous attempt. I'm not asking you to, work harder than the previous attempt. Instead, I want you guys to work smarter than the previous attempt. And the smartest way to ensure that you are fully prepared to face any type of question during your exam is to stick to the study plan, which I'm going to share with you right now. So I'm going to share a 6-week study plan with you. So before I explain what you're supposed to achieve in the upcoming 6 weeks, let me quickly tell you how you should take steps to how you should adhere to a 3-step approach when it comes to mastering each mock exam. So step number 1 is to practice each mock under exam conditions. Step number 2 is to learn theory and application. And step number 3 is to revise. And out of these 3 steps, the most important is the 3rd step. Because as I mentioned earlier, if you do not take steps to revise, you are not going to solidify your understanding about each conceptual element and how to deal with application. So looking at step number one, when it comes to attempting each mock exam, it is prudent to attempt each mock under exam conditions with the prime intention of practicing your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. So when attempting mock exams, I try to give you a best shot, but I do not expect you to come up with foolproof answers. You will definitely struggle with time, you will struggle with stress, and you will struggle with certain subtasks which you're clueless about. That's totally fine. I want you to encounter all these issues when conducting your preparations rather than facing them for the first time at your exam. So practice each mock under exam conditions with the objective of practicing your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. The objective should not be to come up with foolproof answers, but to practice your answering, time management, and stress management capabilities. And then you should direct your attention towards learning. So learning happens when you watch master classes, because in each master class, whilst explaining the logic behind each answer, we will be teaching you the conceptual element covered within each and every subtask. And at the same time, we are teaching you application. So this is the easiest way to learn the entire syllabus, all 60 concepts. And at the same time, this is the easiest way to understand how to apply each of the 60 conceptual elements. So learning happens when you watch the master classes. That's why, as I mentioned earlier, we have developed master classes solely focusing on those who are coming through exemptions as well as those who had failed previously, because both these sets of students lack theory knowledge and they have issues with application. So you can overcome these knowledge gaps by watching these master classes. And after you have learned theory and application, test your knowledge by trying to develop answer plans on your own. And once you have developed an answer plan, compare it to TCS's answer plan to see whether there are significant gaps in your fresh answer plan. If so, you need to rewatch the masterclass, because it appears that you have not really gained anything by watching the masterclasses. So you need to stick to this process. You need to keep redeveloping answer plans over and over until you are satisfied about the fact that you are able to replicate TCS's answer plans on your own. Then you can rest assured that you have mastered a single mock exam. Once you are satisfied with this process, then you should move to your subsequent mock exam and stick to the same three-step approach. And based on this logic, we have developed the study plan. So you should start from Monday itself. You should not waste time if you are a retaker, or if you are planning to sit for the upcoming SCS exams happening in August, because you have just 5.5 to 6 weeks at your disposal. So you should start your preparations by watching the pre-scene analysis videos. There are 3 videos in total. When you watch these 3 videos, you will gain an in-depth understanding of the internals, externals, and financial situation of your company. And then you should direct your attention towards attempting mock exams by sticking to the 3-step approach, which I explained a while back. So in week number 1, you are supposed to attempt or master just mock number 1. But from week number 2 onwards, you need to take steps to master 2 mock exams per week. When trying to do so, if you think that you cannot dedicate the necessary amount of time, that's totally fine. Forget about attempting all mocks under exam conditions. So just attempt mocks 1, 3, and 5 under exam conditions to practice your answering, time management, and stress management. But concerning the other mock exams, really focus on just watching the master classes and redeveloping answer plans, because the key to improve your scores is to improve the quality of your answers. So this can be achieved when you take steps to learn theory and application via master classes, and when you take steps to redevelop answer plans on your own. And in week number 5, which is the week before your examination, if you have time, dedicate your effort towards redeveloping all 7 answer plans. Thereby, right before walking into the exam, you will be reminding yourself about what these 60 concepts are, how to develop answers successfully concerning these 60 concepts, and at the same time, how to deal with application in a foolproof manner. And in the exam week, I do not want you to attempt any mock exams, watch master classes, or redevelop answer plans. You need to put in all your hard yards in the upcoming 5 weeks, so that in the exam week, you can take steps to relax. The only type of preparations you should be focusing on is with regards to reading through the answer plans, all 7 answer plans, right before walking into the exam. You are taking, by reading through answer plans, you are taking steps to remind yourself about how to approach each of the 60 concepts and how to deal with application. And also, it is essential that you stop your work a day or two before your exam, because it is essential that you have a high level of positivity as well as open-mindedness at your exam. If so, you will end up developing answers which are totally aligned with each unseen information. So that is why I want you to stop your work a day or two before the exam, because when all the other students are stressed and when they're scrambling for time, when they're trying to attempt mocks and do everything under the sun, you are not doing anything. You are taking steps to relax. So that's why it's essential that you start from Monday onwards and on a weekly basis, keep moving forward with the intention of mastering each of our mock exams, and join the weekly classes which we are conducting, the webinar or the workshops we are conducting, so that during the Q&A, you can get in touch with us and keep us informed of how you are performing in terms of the study plan. If you are falling behind, drop me a message via WhatsApp. I will get on a call with you and tell you what you need to do to improve your preparations, or pick up speed when it comes to covering all these elements. All right, so that's the 6-week study plan. I hope you understood the logic behind this study plan, and I will be sharing this study plan after this webinar via the WhatsApp group. And then I'm going to direct your attention towards the most important element of this webinar, which is to teach you answering and time management techniques. All right, so when it comes to managing your time during the exam, you need to refine or improve your answering technique. And in order to come up with foolproof answers whilst managing your time, you need to stick to a 5-step approach. So step number 1 is to read through the scenario or read through the unseen. So if you look at a typical scenario or an unseen, as you know, the examiner is trying to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So it's as if you are receiving an email or a memo or some type of a document or an excerpt of board meeting minutes, usually from your CFO. It could be some other director of your company as well. So you are getting some information from a board member usually. So that's exactly what you can see here. This is in an email format. So it's as if you are receiving an email from the CFO. So there is some information concerning some type of an opportunity the company is trying to exploit, or some type of an issue the company is trying to avoid. So that forms the unseen or your scenario. And then you'd see, various different requirements. You might have just 2 requirements or just 2 subtasks within a section, or you might have 3 subtasks or 3 requirements within a certain section. So when developing the mock exams, our intention is to cover all 60 conceptual elements. That's why in each section within our mock exams, you will see 3 subtasks in total, because there are 3 sections in total within a mock exam. So 3 into 3 is 9. 9 into 7 comes up to 63 to ensure that the entire syllabus is covered. So within this within this section rather, you'd see 3 sections, sections 1, 2, and 3. And on top of that, some additional information is shared with you via reference material. You might have access to just 1 reference material. Sometimes you might have access to 2 or 3 reference material as well. So within the first 5 minutes of each section, you need to read through all this information and gain a clear understanding of what is contained within the unseen. So although I'm asking you to do this within just 5 minutes, I don't mind even if you take 7 minutes to read through the entire scenario. However, if you're going beyond this, if you're going beyond 7 minutes to read the entire unseen or the scenario, then definitely you are going to end up mismanaging your time. So this means that if you're not in a position to read through the entire scenario within 7 minutes at least, then this shows that there's something wrong with your reading speed. So on top of preparing for SCS, in the upcoming 6 weeks, on a daily basis, dedicate 30 minutes of your time to practice reading. So purchase a newspaper, for instance, and read what's on it on a daily basis by dedicating 30 minutes of your time, because the only way to improve your reading speed is to practice reading. If not, you are going to mismanage your time on the day of the exam. So if you feel that your reading speed is not up to par, then you have to take steps to practice your reading by dedicating 30 minutes on a daily basis. And once you have read through the scenario, once you have understood what the unseen is all about, then you are supposed to reiterate each requirement in your words in a concise manner. So this is our second step. So why should you reiterate each requirement in your own words with the prime intention of gaining clarity, gaining a clear understanding of what you are supposed to cover in your answer? So if you look at the type of requirements, so if you look at the second and third requirements, they are quite short. But if you look at the first requirement, it's a bit long. Okay, and let's look at some more requirements. If you look at the requirements which are contained within section number 3, the first one is quite long. So is the second and the third ones. Okay, so when the requirement is long, you are not in a position to gain a clear understanding of what you expected to achieve when developing your answer. So that's why you need to take steps to simplify the requirement. When you simplify the requirement, your objective is to gain clarity. When you are clear about the requirement, then you are in a position to develop an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement. If you develop answers which are aligned with the requirement, you are going to get extremely good marks. And on top of that, when you simplify the requirement, whilst developing the answer, whilst developing the answer plan, or whilst structuring your answer, if you want to check whether you are headed in the correct direction, if you want to check whether you are developing an answer which is fully aligned with the requirement, it helps when you have access to a simplified version of the requirement rather than having to read through, one or two lines. So let's try to understand how we should simplify each requirement. So, in each of our answer plans, we have, highlighted how we should achieve this. So if you look at the first requirement, we are supposed to evaluate whether Kwirtmak should divest its legacy small 3D extrusion printer line to support expansion into the higher growth medical 3D printing segment. So this is the extended requirement which appears within your at your paper, within your paper at your exam. So your job is to simplify it in your own words. So I've simplified it as you are supposed to conduct an evaluation as per this requirement. You are supposed to evaluate whether Kwirtmak should divest and whatnot. So you are supposed to conduct an evaluation. And what is this evaluation about? Divesting the extrusion printing or divesting the extrusion 3D printing business to fund medical 3D printing business. Okay, so when you have access to a simplified requirement, you are gaining clarity, and whilst developing the answer plan, you can easily see whether you are developing an answer which is totally aligned with the requirement or not. And let's look at the second subtask. You are supposed to evaluate the CEO's suggestion with regards to bonus. So I've simplified it as director's bonus. And then the third requirement is to evaluate whether Kwirtmak should use part of the disposal proceeds for a share buyback. Should disposal proceeds be used for a share buyback? And looking at requirements which are a bit long, I'm going to direct your attention towards mock number 1, section number 3, subtask A. Recommend with reasons how Kwirtmak should finance the initial cloud platform setup and integration cost of $50 million and the annual managed service fee of $1 million. So if you look at this requirement, this is divided into two main parts. In the first part, you are supposed to talk about how we should finance the initial cloud platform setup, which comes up to $50 million in total. And in the second part of your answer, you are supposed to also talk about how we should fund the annual managed service fee of $1 million. So when you're under exam stress, you might forget to cover the second element of the requirement. So that's why you are supposed to simplify the requirement. This is how I've simplified this. How to finance cloud investments. Okay, so there are 2 investments in total. So when I say investments, I know for a fact that I need to cover 2 different elements. And if you look at the second requirement within this section, we are supposed to recommend with reasons how we should deal with the breach of our debt covenants if we borrow $50 million. So I've simplified it as borrowing $50 million, how to deal with breach of debt covenants. And thirdly, recommend with reasons the approach that we should take to manage the currency risks associated with the annual managed service fee in future years. I've simplified it as how to manage currency risks. Okay, so the second step as per our answering technique is to reiterate each requirement in your own words in a simple manner. And once you're done with it, you should proceed to the third step, which is to develop headings and subheadings. So what you need to understand is the fact that you need to develop main headings based on the number of subtasks which appear within a certain section. So if you look at this section, there are 3 subtasks in total, which means that in your final answer, you should include 3 main headings. So if there are 2 subtasks within a section, then in your final answer, there should be just 2 main headings. Refrain from numbering your sections or your subtasks. Don't say section A or section 1 or whatever, because the examiner intends to replicate a real-life corporate environment. So in a real-life corporate environment, when you are coming up with your response, you use paragraphs, main headings, and subheadings. So that's exactly what you need to achieve within this exam. So if you look at a typical what a typical answer should look like, you can see that I've come up with a main heading concerning the first subtask, which is in bold and underlined format. I have not named the subtask. And also similarly, concerning the second requirement or the second subtask, I've come up with a main heading, which is again in bold and underlined format. And concerning the third subtask, I've come up with main heading, which is in bold and underlined format. Okay, so you need to remember the fact that you are supposed to come up with headings based on the number of subtasks which appear within a section, and each main heading should be in bold and underlined format. And also, if you need to, within a certain subtask, if you need to further fraction out your answer, you are welcome to utilize subheadings as and when necessary. And if so, each subheading should be in bold format. So there's a clear demarcation between main headings and subheading with the intention of assisting your marker. So headings should be in bold and underlined format, and subheadings should be in bold format. So that's your third step as per our 5-step process when it comes to developing answers. You need to indicate your headings and subheadings. Keep your headings short because you should not spend time unnecessarily to come up with extremely long headings and subheadings. And then the 4th step is to really focus on planning out your answer or structuring your answer, or in other terms, taking steps to develop something called an answer plan. And a maximum of 30 minutes should be dedicated towards structuring your answer or developing the answer plan. And when it comes to developing the answer plan, you should develop answer plans covering all subtasks within just 30 minutes. So if there are just 2 subtasks within a section, then you should dedicate 30 minutes of your time to develop the answer plan concerning the 2 subtasks. And if there are 3 subtasks in total within a section, then within just 30 minutes, you should have the capability to develop the answer plan covering all 3 subtasks. So I'm not asking you to develop an answer plan concerning one single subtask within 30 minutes. Instead, you need to develop answer plans covering all subtasks which are contained within a section within just 30 minutes. I don't mind even if you take 35 minutes, as long as you take steps to come up with foolproof answer plans. And when it comes to developing answer plans, before you start structuring your answer or typing out your answer plan, first things first, you need to understand how many marks are dedicated for each and every subtask. Because if you take steps to understand mark allocations, then you are in a position to easily determine how many valid points you are supposed to include within each and every subtask. When you are considering mark allocations before you develop the answer plan, before determining how many points you should include under each subtask, you are making sure to develop answers which are fully aligned with mark allocations. When this is the case, your answers are not going to be too long or too short. So at the very beginning of today's session, I said that some students, most students who are coming through exemptions really, end up wasting a lot of time on subtask A, and because of that, they end up coming up with half-hearted answers or not really attempting subtask B. So this happens when you spend a lot of time on section number A or subtask A. This happens when you try to come up with too many answer points with the intention of gaining full marks concerning subtask A. So in order to avoid such a situation, in order to make sure that you are developing answers which are totally aligned with the mark allocations, you need to stick to this process by considering the weightages which appear at the very end of each section. So let's look at the weightages provided in here. We are in section number 1. So the weightage provided for subtask A is 40%. The weightage provided for subtask B is 35%. And the weightage provided for subtask C is 25%. So this gives us a clear indication of how many marks are dedicated focused on each subtask. So by looking at these weightages, you are in a position to clearly figure out how many answer points or how many valid points you need to include under each subtask. How can you achieve this? You need to do some maths. So as you know, 50 marks in total are dedicated for each of your sections. There are 3 sections in total. So the mark allocation per section is 50 marks. So 40% of 50 marks come up to 20 marks in total. 35% of 50 marks come up to 17.5 marks in total, and 25% of 50 marks come up to 12.5 marks in total. So based on the weightages, you have determined mark allocations on a subtask by subtask basis. Now it is your job to determine how many answer points you should include in your answer, or how many valid points you should include in your answer. So as per the CIMA examiner, if you come up with quality answers or quality answer points, you are going to score 2 or 3 marks. So assuming that each of your valid points are going to carry 3 marks, divide 20 by 3, then you get an answer which can be rounded up to 7. And assuming the fact that each of your valid points are going to carry just 2 marks, again divide 20 by 2, then you'd get an answer which is 10. Which indicates the fact that if you include between 7 to 10 points concerning subtask A, you are going to get full marks. So let me reiterate this process once more. So in order to score 20 marks, as per the CIMA examiner, each valid point will carry 2 or 3 marks. So in order to score 20 marks, you need to divide 20 by 3 and again divide 20 by 2. So when you divide 20 by 3, you get an answer which is 7. When you divide 20 by 2, you get an answer which is 10. So if you include 7 to 10 valid points concerning subtask A, then you are going to get full marks. Similarly, let's look at subtask B. So divide 17.5 by 3, you get an answer which is 6. And again, divide 17.5 by 2, you get an answer which is 9. So if you include 6 to 9 valid points in your answer concerning subtask B, you are going to get the most amount of marks or full marks if all your points are accurate. And on top of that, looking at the third subtask, the weightage is 25%, which indicates that 12.5 marks are dedicated for the third subtask. So divide 12.5 by 3, you get an answer which is 4. Divide 12.5 by 2, you get an answer which is 6. So if you include 4 to 6 valid points concerning subtask C, you are going to get full marks. Okay, so that's how you should determine how many answer points or valid points you need to include within each subtask to ensure that you are not going to waste unnecessary time by trying to come up with an extremely long answer, and at the same time ensuring that your answer is not going to be too short. Okay, so that's how you should determine how many answer points or valid points you need to include under each subtask. And then you should proceed towards structuring your answer or planning out your answer. And when developing this answer plan, develop it on the answer screen itself. Do not use the scratch pad. In a little while, I'm going to explain the technicalities behind your exam platform. When doing so, I will explain this point as to why I'm actually discouraging you guys to use the scratchpad when it comes to answer planning. Instead, I want you to develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. So once you take steps to come up with foolproof answers, or structure your answers, or plan your answers, and then you should proceed towards the fifth and the final step within each section, which is to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. So although you are supposed to develop an answer structure or an answer plan when it comes to planning out your answer, your final answer should look something like this. It should be in paragraph form. So you are supposed to come up with a short answer structure, a summarized version of your answer in bullet points when you are planning out your answer, or when you are structuring your answer. However, in the final 20 to 25 minutes, you should take steps to expand this answer plan in paragraph form, and therefore your final answer should look something like this. So I'm not asking you guys to develop an answer plan and start expanding the answer plan in paragraph from scratch. Instead, simply connect all these points by including filler words. So you are killing two birds with one stone, because you are spending some time to plan out your answer. So when you have planned out, you already know what you should include in your answer. And when it comes to expanding the answer plan, rather than typing from scratch, simply connect all these points by including filler words. All right, so that's what you need to do within the final 20 to 25 minutes of each section. And when it comes to developing paragraphs, develop a paragraph per answer point. When you do so, you are going to assist your marker, because the marker can easily count and see how many valid points you have included in your answer by counting the number of paragraphs which you have included in a certain subtask. And by doing so, he or she, the marker, can identify the number of points you have included in your answer. And out of these points, the marker can easily figure out which are accurate and which are inaccurate, and easily compute your marks. Because although you take 3 hours to attempt the entire exam, the marker is supposed to take just 10 to 13 minutes in total. So it is better to assist the marker. If so, you will be in the good books of your marker. And if your marks are on the fence, if you scored something like 77 or 78, the marker will always try to give you the 2 or 3 additional marks to ensure that you end up passing this exam. So it is better to listen to the CIMA examiner and listen to the guidance provided by the CIMA examiner to the markers. So that's exactly why you need to stick to a similar approach when it comes to structuring your answers, because there's a tendency for some students to write the entire answer in one single paragraph. When you do so, you are not actually assisting the marker, because the marker cannot easily see how many points you have included in your answer. So rather than stressing out the marker, it is better to be in the good books. That's why you need to stick to this answering technique when it comes to expanding the answer plan in paragraph form. Develop a paragraph per answer point. So for subtask A, if you intended to include 8 valid points, if you look at your answer plan, if you included 8 valid points, and then in your final answer, which is in paragraph form, there should be 8 different paragraphs. Similarly, in subtask B, let's assume you plan to include 7 valid points. Then in your final answer, there should be 7 different paragraphs. Okay, so that's the answering technique. Just because you learn this, you are not going to really master it on the day of your exam if you implement it for the first time. That's why I said at the very beginning of this session, I said that you are supposed to master this technique, answering and time management techniques. Whenever you are attempting mock exams, you need to take steps to practice these techniques. And with this in mind, you need to attempt at least 3 mock exams under exam conditions before walking into your upcoming exam. Okay. And, digging deeper, I've mentioned about headings and subheadings, and your expected typing speed is 20 words per minute. Just like reading, if you feel that your typing speed is not up to par, then you are going to mismanage your time. You'd end up wasting a lot of time. So that's why on a daily basis, you need to dedicate 30 minutes of your time to practice typing. So I said that if your reading speed is not up to par, I asked you to purchase a newspaper and start reading by dedicating 30 minutes of your time daily. Similarly, type what appears within the same newspaper on your computer or your laptop, so that you are taking steps to practice your reading as well as typing capabilities. And when developing paragraphs, each paragraph should consist of just 2 to 4 sentences. They should not be too long or too short. And do not spend time on formatting. The only type of formatting which you should focus on is with regards to headings being in bold and underlined format, and subheadings being in bold format, and developing a paragraph per answer point. Other than that, you need not focus on any type of formatting. And always remember, you are getting marks based on quality, not quantity. So that is why you should really master the answering technique. And when conducting revision, your job should be to redevelop answer plans over and over with the prime intention of achieving quality, because you are not ever going to get marks because of the length of your answer. So I've seen some tutors out there saying that in order to score X amount of marks, you need to type an X amount of words. Always remember, this is a professional qualification. This is not an academic qualification. In an academic qualification, when you're writing an essay, or when you're writing up a research paper, or it could be an assignment, you are supposed to come up with a certain number of words. But in this exam, that is not a requirement, because in a real life corporate environment, your superior, when reading through your email, is not, or reading through a response which you have shared with him or her, is not ever going to count the number of words. Instead, your superior is going to look at the quality of the content, whether you have addressed the requirement, and whether you have come up with foolproof evaluations and recommendations. So that's the exact same way in which your papers are going to get marked, because the examiner tries to replicate a real life corporate environment in the first place. So always focus on quality, not quantity. You are not going to get marks just because you include an X amount of words in your response. Okay, so that's what you need to understand. And then I'm going to explain how your exam platform works before I conduct the masterclass, thereby explaining how to implement the answering and time management techniques practically, which I highlighted a while back. So if you look at the exam platform, so at TCS, we have developed the exact replica of the Pearson VUE system on which you are supposed to attempt your real examination. So you have the opportunity of attempting each mock exam under exam conditions if you invest on the premium course. And even if you do not invest on our study resources, you still have access to mock exam 1, and therefore you can attempt mock exam 1 under real exam conditions. So before you start your mock attempts, it's essential that you get your bearings with the technicalities with your exam platform. So when you start your paper, or your exam rather, you'd see a screen which similar to this, in which you'd see the number of sections contained within your paper, and at the same time the time allocation per section, which is 60 minutes in total, and the number of subtasks. As I mentioned earlier, usually you'd see just 2 subtasks, but in certain sections you will see 3 subtasks in total, and also you'd see the weightages in here. And once you click on begin, you will be directed to section number 1. First things first, you have to read through the unseen. So unseen information will be shared with you. And looking at the technicalities, you'd see a timer at the very top, which runs down from 60 minutes. And on top of that, you'd see a section number. So this indicates the fact that out of 3 sections, you are in section number 1. And also you'd see 4 different buttons. You are not supposed to have any calculators or any electronic devices or stationary items with you. So that's why you have access to a calculator within the exam platform itself. You are not supposed to conduct major calculations. You might have to rework a gearing ratio or an interest cover or any other type of ratio at your exam. So that's why you have a calculator. And once you click on this, a pop-up will appear to the right of your screen, which can be moved all over the screen. And also you'd gain access to a scratch pad. I said that you are not supposed to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. Instead, when you are reading through the unseen or the scenario, if you feel that you need to jot down some important information, do so utilizing the scratch pad. If not, I'm asking you guys, I'm actually begging you guys not to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad, because when it comes to marking, the markers will not be fed with information which appeared within your scratch pad. What you type on the scratch pad gets deleted at the end of each section. So because of that, the marker is never going to see what you included within the scratch pad. That's why it's prudent for you not to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad. Instead, do it on the answer screen itself. If by any chance, if you run out of time, if portions of your answer plan appears within your answer screen, let's assume you have scored 77 or 78. The marker will go through your answer plan, and if your points are valid or credible, he or she will award you the additional 2 or 3 points. Okay, the marker is not out there to get you or to fail you. So that's why it makes sense to develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. If by any chance, if you run out of time still, what you intended to include in your answer appears within your final answer, which is shared with each marker. And there are two other buttons as well, reference material and the pre-seen button. So once you click on the reference material button, you'd gain access to the additional information onto the right of your screen, which appears as a pop-up as per this screenshot. And similarly, when you click on the pre-seen button, your pre-seen will appear to the right of your screen again as a pop-up. And then once you click on next, you will be directed to your answer screen. Again, you'd see the same timer, section number, and the same 4 buttons: calculator, scratch pad, reference material, and the pre-seen. And you are supposed to develop the answer plan here. Why am I saying it? Because when you are on the answer screen, you have access to all information. You have access to the pre-seen, the unseen, as well as the reference material. So once you click on the reference material button, similar to what you saw previously, when you're reading through the unseen, you have access to these pop-ups. Similarly, you have access to the same pop-ups when you're on the answer screen. So once you click on the reference material button, the pop-up appears to your right. So whilst developing the answer plan onto the left of your screen, you can gain access to all necessary information which appears to the right of your screen. And as I mentioned earlier, when you click on the pre-seen button, you will gain access to your pre-seen. So if you need to check the pre-seen, you can do so whilst developing the answer plan onto the left of your screen. And also you'd gain access to the scenario or the requirement or the unseen again onto the right of your screen. So you need not go back to the page in which the question or the unseen appears. All information, which includes the unseen, pre-seen, and the reference material, appears to the right of your screen as a pop-up, which ensures that you have the ability to develop the answer plan without shifting between various different pages or various different tabs. That's why I said that you are not supposed to develop the answer plan on the scratch pad, because if you try to do so, you will have to shift between various different tabs: the scratch pad, the unseen, pre-seen, as well as reference material tabs, which is going to be a cumbersome process, especially when you are operating in a time-pressured environment. You have to take steps to avoid all types of issues or complexities. So that's why it is easier. Your life will become easy when it comes when you take steps to develop the answer plan on the answer screen itself. So as you can see, whilst having access to all the necessary information to the right of your screen, you can keep developing the answer plan onto the left of your screen without having without having to shift between screens unnecessarily. So when you're developing the answer plan, you are supposed to keep it short, so you can easily develop the answer plan onto the left while having access to all information to the right of your screen. And when you're done with a certain section, once you have finalized your answer, once you have completed everything, you can click on the submit answer button. Once you do so, a pop-up will appear asking as to whether you really want to proceed to the next section. And once you click on yes, you will be directed to section number 2. And when you are in section number 2, you would see the same timer. The section number reads as 2 out of 3 now. You would see the same 4 buttons, but a new unseen with new reference material. And also you can see that there is no previous button, which indicates the fact that once you are in section number 2, you cannot go back to section number 1, which is your previous section. So that is why when it comes to managing your time, you should think about managing 3 slots of 60 minutes each, rather than trying to manage 3 hours in its entirety, because that's not how this exam works. Once you're done with a certain section, you will be directed to your subsequent section. And when this is the case, you cannot go back to a previous section. All right, so that's how your exam platform works. You will get your bearings with it when you attempt mock number 1 under exam conditions via our exam platform, which is available to everyone who is ready to create a free user account. All right, so before I take you through the masterclass, let me quickly tell you what we offer at TCS. So I'm on the SCS page. If you're yet to create a free account, click on this button and create one. Then you'd gain access to our student dashboard. And once you click on access dashboard, click on my courses, and in front of SCS free, you'd see an access content button. Click on it. Once you click on it, you'd gain access to the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops via the videos tab. And also under the study material tab, you'd gain access to the PDF version of the pre-seen mind map, which can be downloaded, the answer plan of mock exam 1, and the syllabus coverage document, which you saw at the very beginning of today's session. And also via the mocks tab, you'd gain access to the questions and suggested answers of mock exam 1, which is our free mock exam. And as I mentioned earlier, via the exams tab, you have the opportunity of attempting mock number 1 under real exam conditions, which is the best way to practice the answering and time management techniques, which you are going to learn in today's session. So make use of these free resources on offer by creating a free user account. And if you're yet to join our WhatsApp discussion forum, click on this button and join it so that you'd benefit from discussions. If you have any questions, you can raise these concerns. I'm always there to help you guys out. And on top of that, we will keep you guys informed of the weekly webinar and workshop commencement dates and times, and we will be sharing hordes of free resources via this WhatsApp group. So if you're yet to join it, please click on this button and take steps to join our WhatsApp discussion forum. And talking about what we offer 2 packages, the essential course and the premium course. The essential course is intended for those who are coming through the traditional route or those who have completed their E3, F3, and P3 OTQs. So since you have completed your OTQs, you have a sound understanding of all conceptual elements. So you need not take steps to learn theory because you have already covered it. Your job is to simply take steps to improve your application skills. So with this in mind, we have included the resources which appears under the essential course. So under essential, you'd gain access to the recordings of weekly webinars and workshops, 7 mock exams with suggested answers, which contains 63 questions in total, covering all conceptual elements, pre-seen analysis videos, 3 videos in total. Watch these videos to gain an in-depth understanding of the internals, externals, and financials of your chosen company. You'd also gain access to the annotated pre-seen industry analysis and financial analysis slides. Let me quickly show you what these resources look like. So we have come up with annotations with the intention of summarizing the pre-seen information and at the same time conducting our own analysis or evaluation to see whether, to identify, to ensure rather that you identify the most important points which are highlighted within the pre-seen. And on top of that, based on the same information, we have indicated probable exam scenarios which can be tested along with the syllabus elements which might be tested at your exam. And when developing our mock exams, we have made sure to cover all these possibilities. And similarly, if you look at the set of slides which contains the financial analysis, we have evaluated each and every financial statement in depth, making sure to keep things simple so that you can easily gain an understanding of the financial situation of your chosen company. So we have evaluated the SOPL, the SOFP, and the statement of changes in equity. And also we have conducted a ratio analysis at the very end. And we have again evaluated each ratio. And when conducting these evaluations, we have made sure to compare your company's performance against its closest competitors. And we have also come up with a set of slides with the intention of conducting an industry or covering an industry analysis. So you need not try and research about this industry on your own. Simply read through this set of slides, then you will gain a sound understanding of how real life companies operate within your chosen industry. So these are the resources on offer if you opt for the essential course. And you'd also gain access to the top 10 likely issue slides, which indicate the most probable scenarios which can be thrown at you or the heavily tested scenarios which are thrown at you at your real exam. You'd also gain access to the case study familiarization kit. Once you read through this kit, you will gain a clear understanding of the technicalities behind your exam. You'd also gain access to a tutor managed live chat and OTQ revision card. So after attempting each mock exam, if you feel that you had forgotten a certain conceptual element or there are minor knowledge gaps, simply read through these OTQ revision cards to brush up your knowledge in a jiffy. So the essential course is priced at £349, which can be paid in 2 installments of £174 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you will save £50. If so, the price is just £299. And talking about the premium course, this comes with a pass guarantee. I will explain what this pass guarantee is in a little while. So the premium course is designed for those who are coming through the exemption routes and those who had failed the exam previously. So both these sets of students have the same problem. There are gaps in theory knowledge and issues with application. So with the intention of teaching you all concepts, all 60 concepts, and at the same time, to ensure that you understand or learn application, we have included some additional resources under premium on top of what appears under the essential course. So under the premium course, you'd gain access to the online mock exam platform via which you can attempt all 7 mock exams under exam conditions, which is the best way to master your answering, time management, and stress management techniques. A while back, I took you through our exam platform. If you are a repeater, you might have encountered the exact same platform at your real exam. So this indicates the fact that you have the opportunity of attempting each mock under real exam conditions. And you'd also gain access to the answer plans of all mock exams, which is an extremely beneficial tool when it comes to you improving your answering technique. And when you are supposed to conduct your revision, your job is to try and replicate these answer plans on your own. And in a little while, when conducting the masterclass, I'm going to conduct the masterclass based on the answer plan. Then you'd understand how beneficial it is to have access to these answer plans. You'd also gain access to 20 plus masterclasses in total. So you have access to pre-recorded masterclasses from mocks 2 to 7. And the masterclasses concerning mock number 1 are covered via the free webinars and workshops we conduct. So when you have access to these masterclasses, you can easily learn the logic behind each subtask, the theoretical concepts covered within each subtask, and at the same time, most importantly, you will learn application easily. And you'd also gain access to in-depth tutor feedback concerning mocks 3 and 5. You saw the type of feedback on offer at TCS. And when you have access to all these resources, you will pass for sure. Hence, we are offering a pass guarantee for premium. So if you invest on premium and end up failing in your subsequent sitting, scoring between 70 to 79 marks, you will gain access to your premium content in your subsequent sitting free of charge. So if you utilize our resources at least partially, you are in a position to score 70 or above. If so, it indicates the fact that you have put in some effort. Then you are in a position to claim the pass guarantee and gain access to premium content free of charge in your subsequent sitting. So the price of the premium course is £849, which can be paid in 3 installments of £283 each. Or if you opt to pay in full, you will save £100. If so, the price is just £749. So you can invest on your preferred course or payment method by clicking on either of these buttons. And let me quickly take you to the original 8-week study plan, which we shared with you 3 weeks back, because some of you are already adhering to the study plan. So as per the study plan, we are in week number 3, in which you are supposed to take steps to master 2 mock exams in total, thereby dedicating 12 hours of study time. This is going to be the most hectic week, but from week 4 onwards, you are supposed to simply master 1 single mock exam, therefore dedicate just 9 hours of study time. So take steps to master the first two mock exams within this week, so that you can conduct preparations in a relaxed atmosphere, focused on the upcoming 6 weeks. All right, so that's what we offer. Having said that, let's focus on the masterclass. So when conducting this masterclass, I'm going to direct your attention towards our first mock exam, the first section of it, and out of the 3 subtasks, I'm going to direct your attention towards subtask A. Okay, so as per our 5-step answering technique, you are supposed to read the scenario, which is our step number 1. And when it comes to reading the scenario, you are supposed to dedicate 5 to 7 minutes of your time. I'm not going to read through this entire unseen and the reference material. I'm simply going to read through the unseen information, which is aligned with subtask, or which is relevant to rather subtask A. So you receive the following email from the CFO, and the subject goes as divestment and industry pressure. So this gives us an indication about what is contained within this unseen. It is tied to some type of a divestment and the type of industry pressures which we are facing at the moment. Kwirtmak's revenue has fallen over the past year, while profitability has also declined significantly. Yes, this is highlighted within your pre-scene. If you look at the numbers which appears within your pre-scene, let me quickly direct your attention towards the financial analysis slides. If you look at the statement of profit and loss, our revenue had dipped between the years 2025 and 2026 by 19%, and therefore our profits had dipped by 29% between the same 2 years, 2025 and 2026. So although our revenue had decreased by 19%, looking at Bresco's situation, which is our closest competitor, Bresco's revenues has increased by 10%. So this highlights the fact that there's something wrong with our company, because when our revenues are dipping, our closest competitors' revenues had increased between the same 2 years. And similarly, looking at net profits, when our net profits decreased significantly by 29%, Bresco's net profits increased by 9%. So this shows that there's something wrong in terms of how we sell, how we end up generating revenue, and this has impacted our profits in an adverse manner as well. So this first sentence is aligned with what appears within the pre-scene. Although Kwirtmak still offers a wide range of commercial 3D printers, weaker demand in some traditional markets means the business must protect profitability while positioning itself for future growth. So we have to, figure out why our revenues and therefore our profits are dipping. So we know for a fact that as per the pre-scene, we are offering a wide range of commercial 3D printers, but we should spot the type of printers which are not too much in demand. And therefore, we have to conduct a profitability analysis concerning each product category to identify which products are actually underperforming in terms of revenue and profitability. At the same time, the medical 3D printing segment appears to offer strong growth potential with rising demand for customized medical products. So again, this is highlighted within your pre-scene. This is the final news article which appears within your pre-scene, which is focused on medical 3D printing, which offers significant demand for 3D printers. So the medical 3D printing segment appears to offer strong growth potential with rising demand for customized medical products. Expansion into this area would represent an attractive move into a promising adjacent market. Yes, definitely so. To help fund this expansion, the board is considering divesting Kwirtmak's legacy small 3D extrusion printer line. So we need, if we are to move into this market, this new market which is into 3D medical printing, if you are to move into this new segment, then we have to finance this initiative. In order to finance this initiative, the board is considering to divest our legacy small 3D extrusion printer line, which was originally developed for small commercial design workshops when the company was founded. So we are trying to close down one of our product categories, or cease producing one of our product categories, which is known as the small 3D extrusion printer line. So let's look at the requirement. You are supposed to evaluate whether Kwirtmak should divest its legacy small 3D extrusion printer line to support expansion into the higher growth medical 3D printing segment. All right, so we have read through the scenario or the unseen, which is the first step. As per our answering technique, you are supposed to read through the entire requirement as well as the reference material within 5 to 7 minutes, but I don't have time to take you through the entire section. I'm going to simply direct your attention towards the first subtask. That's why I just read through the first subtask. So then the second step is to reiterate the requirement in your own words in a concise manner with the prime objective of gaining clarity or gaining a clear understanding of what you are expected to cover in your answer. So I've simplified this requirement. Evaluate whether Kwirtmak should divest its legacy small 3D extrusion printer line to support expansion into higher growth medical 3D printing segment. As evaluation, you are supposed to conduct an evaluation in terms of divesting the extrusion printing line to fund medical 3D printing. So that's my simplified requirement. So that's step number 2. And step number 3 is to develop an appropriate heading and, if necessary, subheadings. And as you know, each heading should be in bold and underlined format. So that's exactly what you can see here. I've come up with a main heading which reads as exit strategy, which is in bold and underlined format. Okay. And then you should direct your attention towards developing the answer plan. And when developing the answer plan, covering the entire set of subtasks, you need to dedicate 30 to 35 minutes of your time. So before you develop the answer plan, you are supposed to determine mark allocations based on the weightages provided. So the weightage provided is 40% for subtask A. So 40% of 50 marks come out to 20 marks in total. Each valid point will carry 2 or 3 marks. So assuming that each of your valid points will carry 3 marks, divide 20 by 3. And again, assuming that each of your valid points will carry just 2 marks, divide 20 by 2. So when you divide 20 by 3, you get an answer which is 7. When you divide 20 by 2, the answer is going to be 10. So if you include 7 to 10 valid points within this answer, you are going to get full marks. Okay. So we have understood how many points you should include in the answer. Then you should proceed towards developing the answer plan or structuring your answer plan. And when it comes to structuring your answer plan, you need to combine your theory knowledge with application. This is the trickiest part, because if you have to come up with, so this question is tied to testing your evaluation or analytical capabilities. So when you are evaluating something, the knowledge which you have gained via your E3 syllabus, because we are considering about an exit strategy, and such elements are covered within your E3 syllabus. So you need to bring in information or the knowledge which you have gained via your E3 syllabus. And on top of that, after bringing in theoretical or conceptual knowledge, you need to work on your application capabilities. You need to develop an answer which is 100% aligned with the unseen's info. And as and when necessary, you need to bring in pre-seen information to add value to your arguments or add value to your answers. Okay, so first things first, let's try to understand what you need to cover when you are conducting evaluations tied to a divestment scenario. So you need to, as per what's highlighted within your E3 syllabus, you need to look at 5 main elements when conducting evaluations tied to handling divestments. So first things first, you need to look at the strategic rationale, whether it makes strategic sense or not. So this divestment is tied to a situation where we are divesting this extrusion printer line with the intention of funding our move or diversification into medical 3D printing. So we have to see whether it makes strategic sense or not. And then we have to think about how it impacts us financially, because as per what's highlighted within your pre-seen, our profits and revenues have dipped. So it makes sense to move into a new segment which is deemed to be profitable. So these type of arguments should be thought of when looking at the financials tied to this divestment. And also we have to think about the drawbacks tied to this divestment, because when we divest a portion of our business, it will impact customer relations negatively. It will impact the way in which we run our business since we formed the business. So these type of drawbacks should be considered. And on top of that, we have to always think about how the investors are going to react to such a divestment. As a quoted company, our prime objective should be to satisfy shareholder needs. So that's why we have to always think about how the shareholders are going to react to this type of a divestment. And also tied to investor concerns, we have to think about how the share price is going to react, because if our investors are going to be dissatisfied due to this divestment, they'll end up selling the share. And if so, we will experience a significant drop in our share price given our beta. I'm going to talk about these things in a little while in depth. And also, you need to consider the opportunity cost of this move. So due to this divestment, we have to think about what we are losing out. Okay, so these are the 5 elements you need to cover when evaluating something tied to a divestment as per what's highlighted within your E3 syllabus. So this is theory. Now you have understood theory. Then let's try to understand how to deal with application, which is the most important element at the SCS exam. Okay, so let's look at how we should approach this type of a question. So first things first, I'm going to direct your attention towards the strategic rationale tied to this divestment. So we are divesting this business with the intention of diversifying into medical 3D printing. And as per the pre-scenes news article, as well as per the unseen information, there's a growing demand for highly customized medical products. And when there's a huge demand for highly customized medical products, if we are in a position to sell our 3D printers to the medical segment, then we'd end up generating a lot of revenue and therefore profitability in the future, which addresses our current concerns concerning the revenue and profit drop. And 3D printing, when it is used within medical settings, offers speed and accuracy. And this is a clear advantage which we are offering to clients within the medical segment because they relied on traditional manufacturing previously. But when they are, rather than relying on traditional manufacturing, when our clients are ready to use or rely on 3D printing, they can scan, scan the limbs or teeth of their own clients and come up with foolproof replacements as and when necessary. And they can 3D print artificial limbs, teeth, and whatnot, any body part at their own premises without any hiccups. So they need not rely on traditional manufacturers anymore. Because let's assume you are manufacturing an artificial limb, relying on traditional manufacturing processes. It takes a lot of time and you are not coming up with a foolproof solution. There should be some type of discomfort to the customers when you manufacture something traditionally. However, when you rely on 3D printing, you can scan a limb and come up with an artificial limb which is to the exact specifications of a certain client. When this is the case, the client will be satisfied with the product, and therefore the clients within the medical sector are going to generate a lot of revenue in the future. And when we are in a position to assist the players within the medical segment, then definitely our profits and revenues are going to grow in the future. So 3D printing, when used in medical settings, is definitely going to offer speed and accuracy, because if you rely on traditional manufacturing methods, in order to manufacture an artificial limb, for instance, you have to wait for a long period of time. So all this waiting time is avoided if you have the ability to 3D print something within your hospital itself. Okay, so we are offering speed and accuracy, and when we are in a position to offer speed and accuracy, then we'd end up generating a lot of revenues and profit and therefore profits in the future. And we have to see, when thinking about the strategic rationale, we have to see whether us moving into this, whether us divesting this extrusion printer line and moving into medical 3D printing is actually aligned with the existing mission and vision of our business. So I'm bringing in pre-seen information with the intention of evaluating strategic rationale. You get marks for doing so. So as per what's highlighted within your mission statement, we are supposed to transform customers through innovative design, providing innovative designs and providing production solutions. So we are supposed to achieve exactly this if we diversify into the medical 3D printing segment, because we are in a position to transform an entire industry by offering innovative design and production solutions. Because these clients within the medical segment are in a position to 3D print whatever is necessary within their own hospitals or within their own premises. And looking at our vision statement, we are supposed to expand additive manufacturing across industries with the intention of achieving market leadership. So when we are moving into a new industry which offers growth potential, we are achieving our vision because we are expanding additive manufacturing across industries. At the moment, as per the pre-scene, we are operating only in 3 industries. So we can move into a totally new industry if we go down this route. If we divest the small extrusion printer line to invest on the medical 3D printing segment. And when we try to do this, when we move to additional markets, then we are poised to achieve market leadership. So strategically speaking, this exit strategy seems to be aligned with the way in which we conduct our business. And at the same time, this divestment will fuel an investment into the medical 3D printing segment, which is going to be highly profitable for us in the future. And then you should consider the financial case as well. As per the pre-scene, our revenues had dipped by 19%. So in the unseen, it is mentioned that our revenues and profitability had dipped. So it is better to come up with the accurate numbers to show to the examiner that you are aware of the internal dynamics of your chosen company. And this ensures that you are adding value to your answer. So rather than saying that our revenues had dipped, it is better to highlight the exact numbers because it clearly appears within your pre-scene. So as per what I highlighted previously, as per the financial statements, our revenue had dipped by 19%, whereas breast growth has increased by 10%. So I don't see the need to talk about Bresco right now. So because of that, I've simply mentioned about our own revenue drop, which comes up to 19%. And because of this, when we try to diversify into a new industry, we have to cautious given the fact that our profitability has dipped by 29%, which limits our funding capability. Because it is normal for a company to retain some of its earnings and use it for future investments as capital infusions. So when our profitability decreases, our retained earnings are supposed to dip as well. When this is the case, our funding capability is constrained. So the revenue dip is not too good when it comes to funding this new initiative. So it appears that if we end up pursuing this exit strategy, if we dispose of this extrusion printer line, we are in a position to, by selling this extrusion printer line, we will generate some additional cash flows, and these additional cash flows can be considered as capital infusions to fund this new initiative, the diversification into medical 3D printing. So the disposal or the exit strategy releases capital. So selling the extrusion line reduces need for external financing because as per our gearing ratio, it is 39% at the moment, which is totally fine, which is below 50%, which is the ceiling when it comes to having a healthy gearing ratio. So gearing is okay, which indicates the fact that we can go for additional debt. Yet, if you compare our debt position against our bank balance, our debt is 10 times that of our bank balance. Our bank balance is just $136 million, whereas our debt comes up to $1.3 billion. So when this is the case, when we are trying to do something new, when we are trying to diversify into a new market, we will definitely need capital. And when we have limited cash flows at our disposal, when our bank balance is 1/10 of the debt, then we might face cash flow issues in the future. So it makes sense to sell the extrusion line, generate some additional cash flows, which will ensure that we have some amount of money to invest on this new initiative. And this will impact our cash flows in a positive manner as well, because this eases our short-term cash flow pressure. Because when we have limited bank balances, when we try to invest on this diversification, it will impact our day-to-day financial operations. Our working capital management will be impacted negatively. So in order to ease short-term cash pressure, it makes sense to sell this extrusion line, generate some additional cash, which can be infused to run our daily business whilst funding this investment tied to diversifying into medical 3D printing. And we can fund investments into a high growth medical segment. So these investments can be directed to a high growth segment, which is poised to increase our profitability and revenues in the future. So that's the second element. And looking at the third element, you are supposed to talk about the drawbacks of this divestment. So the first drawback is the fact that when we end up selling this extrusion line, our product range shrinks. So the legacy extrusion line still forms part of our wider offering, because from day one, from the day we started our business, we had kept on selling this extrusion line. And when we cease manufacturing these extrusion printers, or when we take steps to sell this extrusion line to a third party, then it limits our wider offering, which might disgrunt some of our customers. And this narrows the ability to serve low budget customers. So low budget customers are actually using this extrusion line, this legacy product category, and these customers will be dissatisfied to know that we are selling off this part of the business. And therefore, it reduces our flexibility as well, because we are unable to meet the full range of customer requirements. We are not in a position to serve low budget customers, for instance, and this will weaken our cross-selling opportunities across customer segments as well, because when a low budget customer purchases an extrusion printer at the moment, and when he or she is satisfied with the purchase, and one fine day when their business grows, so would their needs. And with this, they might opt for an upgrade. They might go for an expensive, much more complex 3D printer, but we are not in a position to fulfill these upselling opportunities when we end up selling this extrusion printer line. And we are exposed to the risks of moving into medical 3D printing as well. So we are trying to exit this market with the intention of entering a new market, but we have to think about the risks of entering this new market. So I highlighted the benefits of entering into the medical 3D printing segment. Similarly, we have to think about the drawbacks as well, because this might be a significant investment. There aren't any numbers thrown at us, but definitely this will be a significant investment. So we have to ensure that we maintain quality and comply with demands of the customers in the medical segment. We are going to deal with a new set of customers. We do not have a clear understanding of what their exact requirements are. So we might struggle a bit when trying to comply to their needs. And also we have to ensure that the solutions we are offering are defect-free, and the material which are deemed to be used within these medical 3D printers should be approved by the Inlandian Health Service, or the EHS, as per what's highlighted within your pre-scene. As per the final news article, all types of material which are used in medical settings should be EHS approved. So we have to seek approval concerning these things, and we might have to rethink about the way in which we manufacture or configure our printers to suit the needs of medical customers. And also we are exposed to a failure risk as well, because we have to uphold utmost levels of quality, especially given the fact that we are selling a 3D printer which will be used in a medical setting. So we are dealing with the health and safety of the final customer. So that's why it's essential that we uphold utmost levels of quality. We have to comply with all forms of rules and regulations. We are an international company, so we are selling not just within Inland, but internationally. So we have to comply not just with Inlandian law, but with international laws. And also we have to think about reputational risks as well. If something goes wrong, our reputation will be impacted, and our exposure to reputational risks is extremely high, given the fact that we are trying to move into a totally new market, totally new segment with a totally new product. We might have to reconfigure our printers in order to sell to customers in the medical segment. So these are the types of risks we have to consider when it comes to moving into this new market. So these are the drawbacks tied to this divestment. So if we are encountering all these types of risks, it raises the question as to whether we should divest a legacy product line, and after divesting it, whether we should actually direct money to a new type of business, which is going to be extremely risky for us. Okay, so these are the drawbacks tied to the divestment. And also we have to think about our internal capability and our investment capabilities as well. So we will need to rely on new technical expertise when selling to this new market. We'd have to adopt tighter controls, and we'd definitely have to opt for stronger regulatory engagement. We might have to opt for lobbying. We will have to deal with a new set of regulators when operating within this new segment, and further investments will definitely be needed because we have to always use approved material and rely on high precision processes. So this is not going to be a single investment. Instead, we'd have to keep investing in the future. Sorry, with the intention of establishing ourselves within this medical segment in a successful manner. Okay, then I'm going to direct your attention towards the investor or share price concerns. So this disposal may be interpreted negatively by our shareholders. I said that it's essential as a quoted company that we satisfy our shareholders. So this disposal might be seen as a retreat or a defensive response, which indicates weak performance. So when companies do this, whenever the performance is weak, rather than fixing these issues, fixing these weaknesses, companies tend to, simply divest parts of their business, thinking that it is going to solve the problems which the company is facing at the moment. So if the shareholders are going to perceive this divestment in such an angle, then it is going to impact shareholder relationships adversely, and therefore it will impact the share price in an adverse manner. And also, when this is the case, if this disposal is interpreted negatively, it undermines confidence in our growth narrative. And when the shareholders are questioning as to whether this initiative is actually going to be successful or not, they are not going to trust the capabilities and the skills of the board members. So this is not too good. We need to have a good relationship with our shareholders. So I'm saying that due to this divestment, our shareholders with our relationships with our shareholders might be negatively impacted. And also we have to think about share price sensitivity. This is where you have to think about beta. So if you look at your company's beta, as per your pre-scene, it is 2.3, which is higher than 1. And I've conducted an in-depth evaluation within this annotated pre-scene, as well as I've conducted same type of an evaluation in one of the pre-scene analysis videos. So when you watch these 3 pre-scene analysis videos, you will gain a sound understanding. So for now, what you need to understand is the fact that whenever companies operate with a beta which is above 1, it indicates the fact that the share prices are perceived to be highly risky compared to the industry average. So whenever bad news reaches the market, the share price reacts in an extremely adverse manner. So if by any chance this divestment is interpreted in a negative manner, shareholders will end up selling their shares, given the fact that whenever the market is fed with negative news, it impacts our share prices in an extremely adverse manner. That is why if you look at our share price performance over the past few years, there are sudden increases but huge drops. So this is aligned with our beta. So as per our beta, our shares are considered as highly risky. So when something positive hits the market, the share prices increase suddenly. And when some negative news hits the market, the share price also dips suddenly. So that is aligned with our current beta. So that's exactly what I've highlighted here. You get marks for relevant information which is brought in from the pre-scene. So as per our beta, our shares are highly volatile to news, and this divestment might lead to a negative reaction. If so, our share price will further decrease fast. And also we have to think about the opportunity cost as well. We have to, before finalizing the divestment decision, we have to see whether the extrusion line still has strategic value or not. So this is one of our core 3D printing technologies as per the internal dynamics highlighted within your pre-scene, and it has relevance in lower cost segments, especially low budget customers. And we are exposed to the risk of sacrificing future upside So selling this extrusion printer line now may remove access to future opportunities. I previously said that low budget customers might opt for the extrusion line right now, but in the future, when they have money, they might later upgrade. So we are not in a position to sell to these low budget customers with the intention of benefiting from upgrades in the future. So we are risking future upside by divesting this business. So these are the opportunity costs tied to us pursuing this exit strategy. So considering all these points, I've conducted an overall evaluation. So I'm saying that the divestment should not proceed automatically. The divestment is only sensible if the legacy small extrusion printer segment is a non-core business. If it is underperforming, there's no information within the unseen which highlights the fact that this legacy extrusion printer line is underperforming. So we have to dig deeper to see whether, actually speaking, whether this extrusion printer line is underperforming. And also, we have to see whether this extrusion printer line is unlikely to support future strategy, future growth trajectory of our business. So if we feel that this new legacy extrusion printer line is non-core, if it is underperforming and if it is unlikely to support future strategy, then we should definitely proceed towards divesting it, because there's absolutely no point of operating within this business segment if it is unprofitable and it lacks any future growth potential. And we have to also think about the medical segment. It is attractive, but entry conditions do matter, because I mentioned the type of risks we are exposed to if we move into this new segment. So we have to consider both the benefits as well as risks tied to this diversification into this new market. So the disposal proceeds must be used effectively. If we take steps to dispose the business, then the money should be spent on this new segment to fund the move into medical 3D printing. And when doing so, we have to ensure that the disposal proceeds are used in the most effective manner. And with this in mind, before we divest the business, we have to figure out whether we have the capability to compete successfully in the medical 3D printing segment. Initially, I said that we need to check our capability about operating within this new market. We have to be ready to recruit new technical expertise. We'd have to impose tighter controls and also deal with a new set of regulators. So all these things should be considered before finalizing the decision to move into medical 3D printing. So that's why I'm saying that we have to do a foolproof evaluation to see whether moving into medical 3D printing is going to be beneficial for us or not, before we try to sell off this legacy extrusion printer line. So there's no information concerning whether this medical 3D printing segment is going to be beneficial or not. As per the unseen information, there's some general indication about the growth potential within this market. And on top of that, within your pre-seen, as per the last news article, there is an indication about the type of issues and risks we might encounter when trying to move into this market. So you need to consider all these things before finalizing the decision to move into medical 3D printing. Therefore, before moving into medical 3D printing, we have to think about the pros and cons and then decide on divesting the extrusion line. So the safer alternative is to opt for a partial disposal. So we are operating, we might be selling this extrusion line throughout the world. So we have to look at various different geographical locations with the intention of spotting the geographical locations or countries in which the extrusion line is not really performing well. If so, we can close down these, we can cease selling the extrusion line to companies in which the performance is substandard. Okay, rather than closing down the entire production and selling it to a third party, what we can do is we can think about the profitability in each region in which we operate at the moment, and cease supplying to markets in which these extrusion lines are not actually selling. And also, rather than closing down shop, we can go for a managed phase out as well. we can gradually move out of the market rather than suddenly trying to close down this extrusion line. Because if we do so, as I mentioned earlier, the shareholders might get dissatisfied. If so, as per our beta, our share price will suddenly drop. And also, rather than closing down this business, we can go for a business restructuring, which gives us greater strategic flexibility than a full disposal. Because when we opt for restructuring, then we will gain a clear understanding of whether this extrusion line is actually underperforming or not. If it is underperforming, we are in a position to understand its weaknesses, and we can always, via a restructure, take steps to overcome these issues. If so, the revenues or the sales of these extrusion printers will increase in the future. Therefore, it will impact our revenues positively, and therefore our profits will increase. So that's my evaluation. You are not expected to recommend your final decision as per this requirement. So that's why I have not included a recommendation, because when having a chat with those who unfortunately ended up failing last time, I had a chat with 2 or 3 individuals, if I'm not mistaken, who said that when developing answers, they adhere to a certain structure in which, firstly, they focus on including an introduction, then they focus on evaluating, then they focus on coming up with a recommendation and a conclusion. Always remember, this is not an academic qualification. You are not supposed to include an introduction as well as a conclusion. So when developing this introduction, most students end up highlighting generic pre-seen info, which has which adds no value to your answer. So when marking your papers, I've encountered this. Most students end up coming up with an introductory paragraph. In this introductory paragraph, they will mention information such as the fact that we have been in operation for the past 70 years, we are based in England, and the currency is the e-dollar. So what is the relevance of all this information when this question is based on an exit strategy? So the fact that we are based in England and we are using the e-dollar, and the fact that we have been in operation for the past 70 years adds no value to this answer. So avoid this introductory paragraph, because you are not going to get any marks just because you include generic pre-seen info. Instead, whenever you are bringing in pre-seen information, do it with the intention of adding value to your answer. So I've mentioned about the revenue drop because I'm talking about the financial case. I've talked about the debt as well as bank balance, again, because I'm talking about the financial case. I've also mentioned about EHS approval taken from the final news article of your pre-seen, because I'm talking about the risks of moving into this medical 3D printing segment. I've also talked about the beta of 2.3, given the fact that I'm talking about invest and share price concerns. So likewise, whenever you are bringing in pre-seen information, you should do it with the intention of adding value. And also, in this requirement, you are not supposed to come up with your recommendation. So I've spoken about both the pros and cons. And if you look at my overall evaluation, I've kept it open so that the board members can decide on whether we should, move into this new market, whether we should close down the extrusion line, or whether we should go for a partial disposal, managed phase out, or we should opt for a business restructuring whilst diversifying into this new market. So it's up to the decision makers to finalize the decision, because as per the requirement, you are not supposed to recommend something. Instead, you are supposed to evaluate. So when your requirement expects you to evaluate, when you include a recommendation, the marker knows for a fact that you have misunderstood the requirement or you are clueless of how to develop answers. So in this answer, you cannot see an introduction, you cannot see a conclusion, you cannot see a recommendation, because in the first place, an introduction and a conclusion is totally unnecessary. Because when you are responding to your boss at office, you are not going to include an introduction and a conclusion. Instead, you are going to come up with a highly practical answer, well-structured response. And on top of that, as per the requirement, you are not supposed to provide a recommendation. So I've not included one. Okay. So you need to get your bearings with how you should develop your answers. You will learn just that when you watch our masterclasses. So I hope you understood how to approach this type of a question. So this question combines both theory and application. So I taught you the theoretical elements when dealing with a question tied to a divestment evaluation. And then I also explained how to deal with application. This is where I brought in logic concerning unseen information and the preseen information. And this question combines both E3 and P3 related elements, because all these things are E3 related. But when it comes to highlighting the drawbacks, you are supposed to talk about risks. Risk identification is part and parcel of your P3 syllabus. So the examiner can combine two different pillars together or multiple conceptual elements when developing an answer. So this is how you should structure your answer. And once you have structured your answer, the final step is to expand the answer plan in paragraph form. You can take 20 to 25 minutes to do so. So when doing so, develop a paragraph per answer point or per valid point. So as I mentioned earlier, do not, after developing an answer plan, do not try to type the extended answer from scratch. Instead, simply connect all these points using filler words. Okay, so your final answer should therefore look something like this. You can see that I've not written the entire answer in one single paragraph. Instead, I've taken steps to come up with various different paragraphs with the intention of assisting the marker. Then the marker, as I mentioned earlier, can easily spot how many points you have included, and also out of these points, which are accurate and which are inaccurate. Okay, so that's the answering technique. I hope you gained an in-depth understanding of how to deal with the answering and time management techniques. And I expect you guys to keep practicing these two techniques over and over whenever you are attempting mock exams. And as I mentioned continuously through this webinar, even if you do not invest on our study resources, you have the opportunity of experiencing real exam conditions when you attempt mock number 1 under exam conditions via our exam platform. And we are happy to say that we achieved an 86% pass rate in February 2026. We are yet to compute the pass rate for May 2026, given the fact that the results were released just 2 days back. I'm pretty sure the pass rate is going to be better than February, given the fact that almost all our students had passed this time. And this can be achieved by sticking to our study plan, take steps to master each of the 7 mock exams with the intention of learning all 60 conceptual elements and learning application, and with the intention of mastering each mock exam, stick to the 3-step approach. Step number 1 is to practice. Step number 2 is to learn by watching master classes. And step number 3 is to revise by redeveloping answer plans. Okay. And then we are moving to the Q&A. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop us a message via the chat. Any questions, folks? Give me 10 seconds, please, folks. I will hydrate myself. So if you have any questions, you can switch on your mic and talk, or drop us a message via the chat. So some questions have come through, I guess.
Hi, good afternoon.
One of you is asking a question: how do you know it covers only 25 to 30 syllabus areas, and total syllabus areas come up to 60 in total? So I've been teaching CIMA for the past 12 years, so I'm talking out of experience. And those who had come through the exemption route know what I'm talking about, because definitely they saw questions which they were unfamiliar with at their real exam. This is due to the fact that not all conceptual elements are tested. So that's why we are sharing the 7 mock exams, in which 63 subtasks are covered in total. And on top of these 7 mock exams, we are also sharing a separate ethics document. So all ethical angles, all different ethical angles which are aligned with your pre-scene are covered. So you're not just getting access to the 7 mock exams, you are getting access to the ethics document, which comes separately. So all in all, about 80 subtasks or 80 angles, so concepts, are actually covered within our mock exam. So if you go through this document, which is the syllabus coverage document, you would understand how many subtasks or syllabus angles we have covered within our mock exams. One of you is asking a question, please, are you going to revise or teach the theory as well? Well, via the, I hope you're referring to the master classes. So just like what we experienced a while back, we teach theory concerning, we cover the entire syllabus and we teach theory in depth. And at the same time, not just theory, we are also teaching you application, because it's essential that you learn both theory and application to pass this exam.
Thank you so much for this seminar. It's very deep and clear. Can I just ask a quick question about that a time and points allocation? For example, the task 1, how many valid points I should allocate for the subtask?
Yes. So as I mentioned earlier, when the weightage is 40%, you'd get, you are, concerning the subtask, the mark allocation is 20. So assuming that each valid point will carry 2 or 3 marks, divide 20 by 3, then again divide 20 by 2. So if you include 7 to 10 valid points, you are going to get full marks. So there's 1, 2, 3, 4,
Sorry. Sorry,
5, and 6.
I don't get it, because that 20 marks is what given by you. But in real exam, they didn't mention about how many marks. It just said 60%, 40% for the subtask. So how would I know how many points I should put it there then?
So you are supposed to work out what 40% is out of 50. Okay, because
50.
each section is dedicated with 50 marks. So 40% of 50 comes up to 20.
Oh, okay. So each task is 50 marks. Totally is 150 marks.
Yes.
Okay, so that will be 20 marks, and then
Subtask B's weightage is 35%. So 35% of 50 comes up to 17.5 in total. And 25%.
so how many points then?
Divide 17.5 by 3, 6, you get an answer which is 6. Then divide 17.5 by 2, you get an answer which is 9. So 6 to 9 points. And the weightage in here is 25%. So 25% of 50 comes up to 12.5 in total. So in order to score 12.5 marks, divide 12.5 by 3, you get an answer which is 4. Divide 12.5 by 2, you get an answer which is 6. So if you include 4,
Why by 3 and by 2?
Because each valid point, I actually explained all these things in depth. Probably you missed it. So each valid point carry 2 or 3 marks.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Because
Okay.
you should not you should not try to score just 1 mark or 0 marks. If so,
Yeah.
you're not developing a good answer. So if you come up with a valid point, your objective should be to score 2 or 3 points per main point.
Okay. All right. Okay. So it's a 4 to 6 points. All right. For that 12.5 marks.
Exactly. So
All right.
if you missed out this, the first part of the webinar, please watch the recorded version, because I've explained all these 5 steps in depth previously.
Yes. All right. Okay. Yeah. Okay. So I need to put a 4 to 7 valid points, and each valid point is 4 to 6 sentences, right?
Not exactly. So each 2 to 4 sentences. So let's assume there are you intended to include 5 valid points. Then there should be 5 paragraphs. In each paragraph, you should contain 2 to 4 sentences. There's no hard and fast rule when it comes to the number of sentences. It's just that you need to remember the fact that you need to include the number of paragraphs as per the answer points which you intended to include in your answer.
Okay, understood. Thank you. And also for that bolding and the subtitle, I realize in the real exam, it waste my time to bolding that. So can I just put like subheadings and then make the space between the paragraphs or my points?
Well, I'm sorry, I didn't get you. Are you referring to
Okay.
this answer plan?
Yeah, regarding the subtitle and subheadings, and
Uh-huh.
some are you mentioned about it's easy assist the markers to mark, and we should put like bold or black or underline on the underscore, and I found that is waste of my time. So can I just put like subheadings and make a space between paragraphs then?
Why does it take time? Because give me a second, please.
Because I need to bold it and I need to underscore it. It takes time.
It actually doesn't, because give me a second, please. I'll take you to the exam platform. So if you look at this, it's simply a matter of, if you want to bold this,
Yeah,
highlight this and click on bold. And if you
yeah.
want to underline it, just click on underline. It's not going to take a lot of your time.
It takes time. I realize from my exam, every subtitle I have to do this action. It takes like 10 seconds, 20 seconds, which I can use that for other things.
Okay, that's strange. I'm sorry, but I don't agree with you. Because it,
Yeah,
it
okay.
doesn't take time to, it won't take 10 seconds, because if you count 10 seconds from now, uh, it won't take 10
Okay.
seconds to press two buttons. Okay. So I think that you need to get accustomed to real exam conditions. So that's why I want you to attempt at least 3 mock exams via our exam platform. Then you'd get your bearings with how this exam platform works. Although you are, spending 10 seconds to bold or underline main heading right now, when you get your bearings with the exam platform, you do it within just 1 or 2 seconds.
Okay. Understood. Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. And another individual is asking, we are offering 7 mocks. One mock has 3 parts, 6 questions, not exactly. Each mock exam carries 9 subtasks in total. Because if you look at this mock exam, in here itself, within each section, we have contained 3 subtasks in total. So there are in total 9 subtasks. So 9 into 7 comes up to 63 subtasks in total. And on top of that, you gain access to the ethics document as well. So all in all, you are gaining access to 70 odd subtasks in total. And another individual is asking a question, where do you get access to the mocks? Well, via the via the student dashboard. So I actually showed you these things earlier. You can visit our website and create a free user account to gain an idea of the type of resources on offer. And all our study resources, except the exam platform, can be accessed via your mobile phones as well. So we have made things easy. We have mobile optimized our website, so you can access the mock exams under the free content. You can access the first mock exam, but if you purchase the paid content, the remaining mock exams will be accessible via the student dashboard. A while back I showed you how to access the student dashboard. One of you is asking a question, how will we attempt mock exams? Do you have a platform to use? Yes, we do. I feel that these questions were, yeah, they have been raised before 11 o'clock. So I explained all these things. One of you is asking question, will this slide be shared after this? Unfortunately not, but the recorded version of the entire video will be uploaded to the YouTube handle and our student dashboard. And also you're asking, do we need to answer questions in specific format, example, email or memo? No, absolutely not. I've seen tutors saying this, but you have to listen to what the examiner is telling us. The examiner expects you to develop answers in this format. So get to the point straight away, because you need not come up with salutations. So, come up with an introductory paragraph, to, from, subject, date, and whatnot. All these things are unnecessary. The examiner is just testing your theory knowledge, application, and whether you can manage a stressful environment. So this is how, if you look at our suggested answers, you'd find out how you should develop your answers. One of you is asking a question whether you can unmute. Yes, you can. The theory review. Olamide, I hope I got your name right. If not, I'm extremely sorry. You are referring to a theory review. What are you talking about? Can you please explain? You can maybe switch on your mic so that we can have a chat. And also another individual is asking a question, is there an easier way to work out the numbers of points to write based on weightages and mark allocations like 40% equals an X number of points to write? Is there any reason why CIMA provides the percentage rather than the exact mark of the question? Well, you should ask that from the examiner. Well, I've taught about something similar as well as to why the examiner is not just indicating the marks, rather, indicating the weightages. So what you're saying is true, but there's no way out of it. You are never going to see mark allocations. Instead, you are going to see the weightages. So what you need to do is, although you are struggling right now to work out the numbers, once you get your bearings, you will do it easily. So you learned this technique right now. So when you're trying to do something for the first time, it will feel strenuous, or it will seem to be hard. But with practice, you will get your bearings with it. So that's why I want you to attempt each mock exam under exam conditions. When you do so, you are supposed to stick to our 5-step process. And part of the 5-step process is to work out the numbers as per the weightages, work out the mark allocations as per the weightages. So when you keep doing this over and over, you will get your bearings with it. So right now, you might feel that this is too hard, but with practice, you will understand that it's quite easy if you really think about it. Yeah, so one of you is saying just use the short keys for bold and underline. It helps you to bold and underline easily. Yes, definitely. This something which I've actually forgotten. So one of you who switched on the mic and had a chat with me was complaining about having to spend a lot of time to bold and underline something. So you can simply use the short keys, Command B and Command U if you're using a Mac, or if you're using some other computer or a laptop. If I'm not mistaken, it's Control C and Control B to bold and Control U to underline. So you can use short keys to keep things simple. And another individual is asking a question. Are there answer plan methods or format one needs to focus on when answering questions, not the answer planning steps? So, what do you mean? So I've highlighted the answer planning steps. That's what you need to adhere to when attempting each mock exam under exam conditions. You need to practice each of these 5 steps to master it, so that you are in a position to replicate the same 5 steps during your exam. Are there answer plan methods or format one needs to focus on when answering questions, not the answer planning steps? So you need to stick to these steps first things first. And when it comes to the answering method, you need to combine theory and application. That's exactly what I explained during the masterclass. So when dealing with a question tied to a divestment evaluation, you need to look at these 5 elements, and then the same elements are highlighted within this answer, which I explained a while back. And on top of just explaining theory, I've made sure to refer to the unseen as well as pre-seen information as and when necessary. So that's the approach which you need to adhere to. So concerning each of the 60 conceptual elements, if you need to understand how to develop your answers, watch our masterclasses, because in each masterclass, we are explaining the theory as well as application, which will ensure that you have a foolproof understanding of how to approach each of the 60 conceptual elements. And also, when you take steps to redevelop answer plans when you're conducting your revision after watching each masterclass, then you are taking steps to solidify your understanding, ensuring that you'd remember the exact points you should include when each of these 60 syllabus areas are tested at your exam. I hope I addressed your concern. And Olamide is saying you have addressed the theory already. Okay, great. Anything else, folks? Did you understand the answering and time management technique? Do you still have doubts about it? Or did you understand how to structure your answers, how to deal with theory and application? If you have any issues, this is the time to raise your concerns. one of you is asking a question: should I focus on the 5 core elements or the 60 syllabus areas? So each of these 60 concepts can be categorized in either of the 5 core elements. So rather than focusing on the 5 core elements, it's the same thing, but when you focus on the 5 core elements, you might miss out on certain concepts. So your job should be to master the 60 syllabus areas which are highlighted within the syllabus coverage document. So whenever you are conducting preparations, you might utilize our resources, or you might tend to utilize some resources provided by some other study provider. So when going through your mock exams, for instance, try to see whether each of these syllabus areas are actually tested in your mocks. If not, you are going to test your luck at your real exam. So we have made sure, that's why we are sharing 7 mock exams when almost all other study providers are offering just 2 to 5 mock exams in total. We have included 7 along with the ethics document to ensure that we are covering all 60 odd syllabus areas. Okay, so rather than focusing on 5 core elements, if you try to do so, you might miss out on certain concepts. Focus on covering all concepts as per what's depicted within our syllabus coverage document. All right, anything else?
The last one, as you just explained for that points allocation, so 3 tasks either is 50%, 50% or 60%, 40%. So roughly like we need to list each subtask about 10 points averagely for the 6 subtasks. Is that right?
Well, I clearly mentioned how we are supposed to work out the number of points you need to include in each subtask based on the weightages. Okay, so it's quite simple. I've explained this. So if you missed the part in which I explain all these things, please watch the video. Then you are in a position to work out the numbers on your own. So if the weightage provided is, as you say, 60%, you need to work out how 60% is out of 50 marks, comes up to 30 in total. Yes. So assuming that each valid point will carry 3 marks, you need to come up with 10 points. And assuming that each valid point will carry just 2 marks, you need to you get an answer which is 15. So if you include 10 to 15 valid points, you are poised to get full marks. Okay, so I'm sorry.
That's quite a lot. If you want to get full marks, it's quite a lot. So averagely, it's like 10 points.
Well, I don't understand how to explain this to you, because so it's up to you. If you feel that you cannot come up with 10 to 15 points, come up with 10. Okay. Because I said that you need to come up with 10 to 15 points. So 10 is part of the solution. Yeah. If you come up with 10 points, you might get full marks. Okay. So if you and on top of that, when you go through our answer plans, you will see clearly how many points you need to include, and you will understand clearly what these answer points or these valid points are. So your job is to try and replicate the same amount and same type of points during your exam. So if you look at this question, when you look at the theoretical elements, you need to include 5 main, you need to consider 5 different angles. So I said that you need to come up with 7 to 10 points as per the way in which you are supposed to work out the mark allocations. So when you conduct your evaluations concerning these 5 points, you have already come up with 5 valid points. Then you just need to come up with 1 or 2 additional points when conducting your overall evaluation. Okay, so don't think about this too much, because I think you are actually stressing on something which is minute. You need to really focus on improving your theory knowledge and application capabilities. And in terms of understanding how many points you need to cover, in your answers. Simply watch the master classes and go through the answer plans. Then you'd realize how many points you should include in your answers and what these points should look like. Okay.
All right,
And
thank you.
and you are asking these questions because you have not practiced this technique as yet. So not just you, some other individual had asked about how to work out these numbers because it seems complex at the moment because you are trying to do it for the first time. But with practice, this becomes easy. Just like you said that it takes about 20 seconds to bold and underline main heading. That is because you are not too conversant with the exam platform, but with when you practice each mock under exam conditions, which when you get your bearings with the exam platform, you can easily do it within a second. Okay, that's why I said that I do not agree with you when you said that it takes 20 seconds for you to bold and underline a certain main heading, which is never going to be the case when you practice each mock under exam conditions and when you get your bearings with the exam platform.
Okay? All right, thank you.
You're welcome. And one of you is asking a question. Can you comment on the industry? The examiner used for the unseen was very complicated to understand for commercial production, such as house construction. Please advise on the practicality of the same and how do we manage such type of strange areas. So as I've mentioned throughout these webinars and workshops, I did this in the previous set of sessions as well. We are not in a position to accurately predict what the scenario is going to look like. As tutors, our job is to prepare you guys to face any type of theoretical concept concerning the 60 syllabus areas and teaching you how to deal with application. Whereas when it comes to the scenarios, it's up to the examiner to come up with any type of scenario. So although the scenarios information is different, it does not mean that whenever a conceptual element is tested, the way in which you should approach a conceptual element is going to change. That is never going to be the case. So in this question, I've considered a situation where we are pursuing an exit strategy with the intention of moving into medical 3D printing. But at your exam, if there was a scenario in which the examiner highlights a situation where we are actually moving into a house construction, the house construction industry, then the scenario is different. But if the question is based on an exit strategy, the way in which you evaluate an exit strategy is quite the same because you need to consider the same 5 points. Okay, so the way in which your theory knowledge can be tested or conceptual knowledge can be tested is quite the same, irrespective of the scenario which is thrown at you. So if you look at your pre-scene, there is no indication of us trying to move into house construction. Okay, so but it appeared in your exam. So this is why I said that any type of scenario can be thrown at you. And although this is the case, the theoretical concepts covered as well as application is going to be the same. So if you learn theory as well as application, then irrespective of the scenario, when you take steps to redevelop answer plans in a foolproof manner, irrespective of the scenario, you are going to end up developing quality answers. And on top of that, when conducting revision, your job should not be to try and memorize the answers, because if the scenario is going to be different, when the scenario is different, the unseen information is going to be different. So although the conceptual element is going to be the same, these 5 points will be tested whenever your knowledge concerning an exit strategy is tested. When it comes to structuring your answer, the logic, when it comes to applying your knowledge in a logical manner, the logic will be a bit different, because rather than talking about medical 3D printing, if you're supposed to talk about house construction, you need to consider the information shared with you via the unseen about the house construction industry and utilize these pros and cons which appears within each reference material or the unseen when developing your answer. So I hope I addressed your concern partially. And talking about how we can use 3D printing in the house construction market, it is heavily used in the Western world, especially in the Americas, where in the good olden days, you had to spend a lot of effort and time to build a house, but there are MMCs, or modern methods to construction, in which 3D printing is heavily used. You can 3D print anything because the 3D printers are not really small anymore. There are huge 3D printers. That's exactly what appears within your pre-scene as well, because Kwirtmak is into fulfilling the needs of the aerospace industry. So if you want to 3D print something in an aeroplane, you need to rely on a huge 3D printer. So a similar sized 3D printer can be used to 3D print walls, doors, windows, floors and whatnot. Okay, I hope I addressed your concern. One of you is asking a question for the tutor feedback on mocks 3 and 5. Could you please explain when and how this will be done? So your job is to attempt each mock exam under exam conditions. So that, you have access to the exam platform. So let's assume you are attempting mock number 3. So attempt it via the exam platform. Once the entire exam is done, your answer will be directed to the marker, which is me. So, I have the opportunity of downloading your answer script via our website itself. And then I will download the Word document. And as you saw previously, on a subtask by subtask basis, on a paragraph by paragraph basis, I will be conducting my evaluations. And after doing so, I will upload the final answer script along with the tutor feedback, which can be downloaded from your student dashboard. So once you have the opportunity of attempting mocks as and when you feel free, and once you complete a certain mock exam, let's assume you are done with mock exam 3, I will revert with feedback within 72 hours. So don't wait until the last moment to attempt the mock exams, because that's when I will take 72 hours to revert, because I won't just be marking your paper. I said that you are supposed to take 3 hours to attempt the entire exam, but the markers are going to take just 10 to 13 minutes to mark your entire paper. However, that does not mean that I'm going to mark your paper within just 10 to 13 minutes. I'm supposed to come up with in-depth feedback as well. So this takes 3 hours. So we deal with hordes of students when we are getting closer to the exam. So that's why I'm saying that I will take 72 hours to revert if you attempt the exam closer to the exam. Instead, I invite you to stick to the study plan. If you do so, you will complete mock exams way before than the rest. Then I can definitely revert within just 2 days. So you attempt the mock via the exam platform. Once you're done with it, automatically I will receive your tutor fee or your answer script, and then I will take 48 to 72 hours to mark your entire paper. And after I'm done with it, I will upload your feedback document. You can download the feedback document from your student dashboard itself. Okay, I hope I addressed your concern. Did I? Okay, great. Anything else, folks? All right, seems like there aren't any questions. So if you want to contact us, you can do it via our website, which is www.study@tcs.com. Visit our website and click on the contact button and drop us a message. Our admin staff will get in touch with you via email during office hours. Or if you want to directly engage with us, drop us an email at info@study@tcs.com. Or if you need instantaneous support, drop me a message via this number, especially if you didn't pass the exam previously in the previous sitting or sittings. And if you are yet to book a call with me, drop me a message so that we can schedule a time, because then I will listen to what you did in terms of preparations, with the intention of gaining an understanding of what you did previously. And then I will highlight what your shortcomings are, and also explain what you need to do to significantly increase your chances of passing in your upcoming exam. So drop me a message via this number if you need instantaneous support. And I urge you to follow us on our social media handles, especially YouTube and TikTok, because via YouTube, we are sharing the recorded versions of the weekly webinars and workshops. And via TikTok, you'd gain access to 6 videos in total, which is the video version of the pre-seen mind map. We have already shared this PDF version of the pre-seen mind map, which highlights the most important points, which appears within your pre-seen document. So the video version is available via TikTok. So on your way to office, for instance, on a daily basis, keep watching these 6 TikToks over and over, so that you can rest assured that you remember the most important points highlighted within your pre-seen. And if you're yet to read the blog post which we have developed focused on Kwirtmak, visit our blog page and refer to this blog post. And having said that, it brings us to the end of today's webinar. I hope you gained a good understanding of how you should develop your answers, and at the same time, by doing so, how you can manage your time. You might, struggle with these technicalities when you are trying to implement them for the first time, but that's totally fine. It takes practice for you to perfect a skill. So I'm asking you to keep repeating this process over and over whenever you are attempting mock exams. At least attempt the first 3 mock exams under exam conditions to get your bearings with the answering and time management technique. And I hope you will stick to the 6-week study plan and stick to the 3-step approach when it comes to mastering each mock exam, which will ensure that you are walking into the exam after learning the entire syllabus, and also knowing how to deal with application. And also, when you have taken steps to develop answer plans on your own, you can rest assured that you are going to remember how to approach each conceptual element successfully on the day of your exam. So I hope you will start your preparations right now. And if you have any questions, you can reach me. And I hope to see you guys next week, next Saturday at 10 a.m. UK or 9 GMT, in which I'm going to share crucial stress management techniques with you, and also take you through the exam blueprint. So thank you for joining. I'll see you guys next week.